Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Friday, March 29th, 2024. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Black Hollywood is mourning the loss of one of the finest actors of his generation. Oscar winner Louis Gossett Jr. passed away in Malibu. Tonight we will celebrate his life right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Texas finally getting it right. An appeals court has reversed Crystal Mason's conviction and the 5-year prison sentence for illegally voting in the 2016 presidential election. Crystal and her attorney will be with us to talk about this long-awaited decision. This nightmare is finally over. Tennessee House Speaker Republican Camron Sexton says Democrats had some backdoor dealings with dismantling the Tennessee State University Board of Trustees. We'll show you the video. A Michigan State lawmaker mistakes buses of NCAA basketball players as illegal invaders. These white Republicans are crazy. And a Minnesota scholarship named after George Floyd is being called discriminatory. I told y'all they're coming after everything. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now. Martin.
Folks, we've lost another entertainment giant, Louis Gossett Jr., the first African-American man to win a Best Supporting Actor Oscar for his role in An Officer and a Gentleman. He also won an Emmy for his role in the TV miniseries Roots. He has passed away. Louis Gossett was 87. 2010, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer, but has not been confirmed that if that contributed to his passing. Again, over the course of his career, he has been in numerous movies, most recently in the new edition of The Color Purple. We, of course, had an opportunity to talk to Louis Gossett on many times. There are so many different movies that he played in, TV shows that he played in, you name it. This was some of what we talked about when we talked in December 2022 on Rolling with Roland on the Black Star Network.
It's nice to be this age. Very grateful to be unscathed, broken legs and stuff, you know, and all my sports injuries. But I've been given the opportunity by God, whom I call God, to be in Israel and Africa and Japan and Australia and Egypt and South America and Central America and Mexico, Canada in 80 years. There's no career out there that long. I have nothing to complain about. Mm-hmm. I wake up the next morning, you got me another one? Thank you. Thank you, God. Thank you. It's good to see you. I've been in the place where I was concerned, and it gets you angry, and then finally you take a deep breath. Oh, wait a minute. You can't do nothing about it except speak your mind and get on with the day. But it's a good time to be alive.
When you, how do you, let me phrase it this way. What still excites you about either the stage, the small screen, or the big screen? What still makes you just, let's go?
New talent. New talent. My favorite actress is Taraji Henson. And another one is the girl that played my daughter in The Watchmen. I can't remember right now what her name is. King. And there's some...
Regina King.
Regina and others. Writers, the director from let's call it Purple. Fantasia. There's some people out there that's very exciting. And it's in all walks of life. Athletes, amazing. That kid from New Orleans, he's amazing.
So when you're doing with these projects, so for you, it's being able to share space with this new generation.
I'm blessed, and there's a mutual. We don't have that kind of time, but I show you on my cell phone all the thanks and the congratulations. The mutual family over the last couple of years that I've been fortunate to be around. The respect is there. They like it when we contribute some knowledge to them.
That was, again, 2022. 2012, Lou Gossett appeared with me on Washington Watch. We also talked to him later on News One Now. So, I mean, a lot of different conversations that I had with him. And so in 2012, with TV One's Washington Watch, we had our Hollywood edition of the show, and this was that conversation.
Obama in 2008 with money, support, endorsements, also hitting the campaign trail. What about this time? With me to discuss just how the president is perceived here in Hollywood are a number of great people. First off, Louis Gossett Jr., Academy Award winner. Lamont Rucker, Tatiana Ali, and Keisha Knight Pulliam. Folks, how we doing?
Fantastic.
All right, love it. First of all, let me start off this way. It's been interesting reading some of the comments from other folks. Let's say Matt Damon has been highly critical of President Obama, saying that he hasn't been tough enough, he hasn't stepped up to the plate. And so when you hear these criticisms, what do you think? And also, what's your assessment of the job the president has done thus far in the past 4 years?
I think he's done a monumental job. I think the least of it is him being black. I think he's our president, right? He's upset some black people because they didn't have programs for them. But he has been the president for the entire country. And now his record is beginning to show because unemployment is down, Wall Street's up, Detroit's waking up, all his promises. And he inherited a problem with a deficit, and he's doing beautiful. His next 4 years would put him in history books.
Well, he's already saying he's getting elected.
Oh, yeah.
Right,
oh, yeah.
Go right ahead.
Yeah.
I think you touched on some really important points. You know, President Obama was given a job that could not be done in the time frame that has passed. He needs extra time, not because he hasn't done his job thus far, but because the problems that he inherited were so great. You know, I'm a very big, avid, Obama supporter. I went to the Women for Obama luncheon where Michelle Obama spoke the week before last, and I'm working with the campaign on college campuses, and I feel like, I think a lot of people recognize that, there's still work to be done, and he's the person to do the job.
The next generation, young folks, huge part of his platform in terms of his support in 2008. Yet we've seen young folks not particularly happy with the job the president has done when you look at some poll numbers. I speak on college campuses all across the country, and when I would say President Barack Obama in 2009, huge response. In 2010, pretty good response. In 2011, okay. And so it's real interesting. So I can always tell by applause levels how folks are feeling at the time.
I think I worked on the campaign last.
Yes, because you were in my book
season.
The First. Yes, you
yes,
were.
And I spoke on a lot of college campuses, and there's an idealism that Obama's message really hit on that spoke to young people. And I think the reality of what he was confronted with is a very different thing. I'm really excited to see, and I'm speaking it into existence. I think we all are. I mean, Mitt Romney, I don't even...
Who?
Yeah, exactly. So that can't happen. But I'm excited to see this second term because that's the real freedom.
Absolutely.
There's no, this is the second term, it's the last term. You don't have to worry about re-election. You can really go for broke, which is incredible because in this first term he has gone for broke. Healthcare, the economy is now making this upturn, and hopefully no one's going to want to see a switch while things are finally going upward.
I think that's what's key. I mean, you talk about the the younger demographic and the younger generation, which includes us.
Luke said, me too.
But I think in saying that, I think this idealism is actually really the perfect word. And unfortunately, based on that youth, sometimes you can be very short-sighted. I don't think you really understand the long-term ramifications and how long it actually takes something to evolve into what it's supposed to be. So I think once that that starts to be evident, there's going to be a greater appreciation for this last 4 years and the next 4. But most of us are kind of really in this immediate gratification phase that we expected things to happen and turn around much faster than they really can.
One of the things that we've talked about on this show many times is that when it comes to making it clear what we want and desire. I've heard African Americans across the country, they say, well, Roland, we really shouldn't ask for certain things because, whites will be looking at it. And I say, time out. 95%. He got 95% of the black vote. Black women voted at a higher rate than any other group in America. I said, yes, he's African American. Yes, I said, but he's also the 44th president. My belief is that black folks, like anybody else, have a right to say this is what we want and desire because we also voted too. So what do you make though when people say no, don't do that because that might jeopardize the brother's opportunity?
And I'm so happy he's there.
I've heard this.
Don't you be no rabble rousing now.
I mean, I've heard that from a lot of people.
This is a dynamic that we might have forgotten about what JFK said. He said, ask not what this country can do for you, but what you can do for the country. We have an opportunity. You young folks have an incredible opportunity to be three-dimensional, responsible Americans and keep that man in the White House probably for another 4 years if it was possible. But it's not waiting for him to do a program for them. It's the modicum of America, regardless of who you are, is what you can do for the country.
And that's what got him in there in the first place.
And that act brings the country together.
There's been so much pushback from Congress. It's been such a war in Washington that, I mean, you literally see our president waging war against, or Congress waging war against him. And he's traveling. He's had to go the route of traveling across the country and trying to mobilize support for the things that he's doing. What that means is that African American women, whatever segment you think you're in, we should be mobilizing and give him the pressure that he needs to get things done, to be able to go into Congress and say, look at what your constituents are saying. They agree with me.
Change our perspective because this is our country. It isn't, those people over there. No, we all make up this country and it is all ours and we have to take ownership of that and understand that when we vote, we are putting people in office to represent our voice. Everyone's voice, black, white, whoever, wherever you are. If you're an American citizen, their job is to fight our cause. And we have to hold them accountable. We have to let them know, yes, we put you in office to be our voice. And follow up. Not enough people are really proactive with that and really find out what's going on. Okay, what is this congressman, what is his voting record? What has he stood for? Is it in conflict to what he says he stands for? Or is it in actuality that he is doing what he says that he's doing?
Now, all of you have said that clearly you expect him to be reelected. But obviously, one never knows.
I will do my part.
I got you. But follow me here. But isn't it also important for black folks to demand that Republican candidates speak to our community as well? Because if they happen to be elected, they will also be president, as you said, of the entire country.
So the Republicans have to come to the plate. Haven't quite come to the plate yet because it's in the DNA. They have to make a larger adjustment to speak to us, I believe, because that's the way it's been for generations. The Democrats don't have to make such a adjustment because they have more African-American representatives. But the Republicans, you're absolutely right, have to be sensitive enough and compassionate enough to speak to us. But in the meantime, we have to be in that place where they can't do anything else but speak to us with the truth.
Gotcha.
That's our job.
Final comment.
The job of the young folks.
10 seconds.
Yeah.
I don't see, I mean, honestly, the Republicans have put themselves in such a corner with Tea Party ideology and morality that I think that's a really difficult turn for them to make, and I don't know if that's going to happen.
It is, but it must be made, though.
It is, but I will tell you this.
The way that it's made
Right.
is by showing up and them having to respect the fact they're coming out. They're going to vote.
That's right.
And that's the only way. Your vote counts. And if they don't believe it, they're not going to worry about
I've made
you.
the point very simple. Whoever the nominee is, that person should come on TV1, come on this show, speak to black folks.
That's right.
Because you want to be the president,
Come around the
you
way.
talk to
You
us.
got to come through the
That's
change,
right.
baby.
Be real and
You got to come through the change.
I'm out of time. Louis Gossett Jr., always a pleasure. Lamont Rucker, thank you so very much. Tatiana Ali, Keisha Knight Pulliam, thanks. But Tatiana's like, that ain't going to happen. All right, folks.
That was a very interesting day because we also had another panel with Richard Roundtree, who we lost last year. So two giants we've lost in back-to-back years. Just get some thoughts and reflections from our panel. Matt Manning, civil rights attorney out of Corpus Christi, joins us. Of course, we're out of Detroit. I keep telling y'all, how do I keep letting Sigmas on the show? Michael Imhotep hosts African History Network show. Kelly Bethea, communication strategist. Glad to have y'all on. You know, one of the things that stands out, I think if you look at the career, Michael, of Louis Gossett, I mean, this is somebody who he was always about blackness, very much Afrocentric, and proud of that and the roles that he took.
Yes, you could tell in some of his dress, he was Afrocentric. I saw numerous. He had over 100 TV appearances, number one. That's Diggstown that you're showing right there. It looks like that was Benny Urquidez, who's a martial artist, also kickboxing champion. They showed who's the referee. You know, so I saw movies like Sadat, where he played Anwar Sadat, leader of Egypt, who was assassinated. Even though he won the Oscar in 1983 for An Officer and a Gentleman, he stands out to me for the TV miniseries Roots. I saw it when it originally aired on TV in 1977. It aired at nighttime. I watched it with my parents, okay? And millions of people across the country watched Roots every night. We never saw anything like that before. And he brought dignity to the role of Fiddler. And the New York Times has his obituary today, and they quoted him as talking about, why choose me to play the Uncle Tom? This is what he referred to Fiddler as. And he went on to say that but he came to admire the survival skills of forebears like Fiddler, he said, and based the character on his grandparents and a great-grandmother. So this is a brother who we saw on two roles on Good Times. We saw on The Jeffersons, and also he had a short-lived TV series in 1989. I think it was Gideon Oliver. This is him on The Jeffersons. Very versatile actor. I can't remember of any role that he may have played that maybe brought shame to African Americans. Okay, so this is a huge loss.
It was always about dignity. It was always about righteousness, Kelly, in terms of how Lou Gossett wanted to portray himself on the screen.
Absolutely. To Michael's point of always portraying roles that show dignity, no matter how possibly controversial he may have found them out to be. One of my favorite roles, and Frank, probably the first time I was exposed to Louis Gossett Jr. was his role in Raisin in the Sun. He was portraying the love interest of the daughter, and he, if I recall correctly, was the more politically correct love interest of the daughter, and there was conflict there as to who was blacker and who was, more for their people, et cetera, et cetera. And when I looked at that, when I was studying Raisin in the Sun, I gravitated to his character because I have a lot of people in my family, myself included, who had to struggle with that internal dialogue myself. One of the last roles that he played that was one of my absolute favorites was when he was the grandfather of Regina King's character in Watchmen. I thought that was such a dignified, poignant role, because even though he wasn't, he didn't have a whole lot of lines, but his entire character was the reason for her entire being. And it just felt very almost foretelling as to how his legacy is going to be for other actors and other entertainers, other artists, that while he might not be here, his influence is so pervasive throughout this industry, throughout this country, throughout this culture. And he will be deeply missed.
Matt?
I think Kelly and Michael covered it pretty well, but what I think is so extraordinary is that he had such a high level of output and dignity and acumen at his craft for 70 years, which is really extraordinary if you think about it. His first Broadway appearance came when he was 17. So for him to have 7 decades on the screen and on the stage at such a high level of output is really an extraordinary feat. And I think Michael's sentiments regarding Fiddler are a lot of mine. I actually just watched the original miniseries again for the first time because I just read the book several months ago. And what I thought was so compelling about his performance is the Fiddler that he depicts in the miniseries is after Fiddler has already been, basically taken advantage of by the master, where he thought he was going to buy his freedom. And the reason that's important is I think he really embodied the internal conflict that's in the book, in the role, in how he was caring for Kunta. And I just thought his performance was extremely compelling. So there's nothing to be said beyond we've lost a giant, but I appreciate him being such an exemplar at his craft and showing us how you can have this kind of output for this long.
Folks, we've got lots more to share with you with regards to Louis Gossett Jr. Of course, at the end of the show, we're going to play the full interview that I did with him. I caught up with him on the American Black Film Festival red carpet. I caught up him in some other areas. So again, lots of stuff to talk about when it comes to Louis Gossett Jr. But coming up next, Crystal Mason, we'll chat with her. She finally is free. It's been an 8-year ordeal that she has had to deal with, and how Tarrant County prosecutors have been trying to put this black woman in jail. It is nonsensical. We'll tell you exactly what the appeals court announced last night. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
This is Attorney Demario Solomon Simmons. I'm a national civil rights attorney. I'm also the founder and executive director of Justice for Greenwood. Many of you guys know I've been leading the fight for the last 2 living survivors and the Greenwood community overall. We have a historic hearing coming up on April 2nd at 1:30 p.m. in front of the Oklahoma Supreme Court. I need all of you to support us as we try to get justice for this issue for the first time in almost 103 years. Sign up to support us during this hearing on Tuesday, justiceforgreenwood.org/watch party, April 2nd, 1:30 p.m. We need your support, your messages, and your prayers. We appreciate you. Justice for Greenwood.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
As bad as Trump was, his economy was worse, and Black America felt it the most. He cut health insurance while giving tax breaks to the wealthy and big business. He stoked racial violence, attacked voting rights, and if reelected, vowed to be a dictator and, quote, get revenge. We can't go back. As president, I put money in pockets, creating millions of new jobs, and capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. There's a lot more to do, but we can do it together. I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
On a next, A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie. People can't live with them, can't live without them. Our relationships often have more ups and downs than a boardwalk roller coaster, but it doesn't have to be that way.
Trust your gut. Whenever your gut is like, this isn't healthy, this isn't right, I don't like the way that I'm being treated. This goes for males and females. Trust your gut, and then whenever that gut feeling comes, have a conversation.
Knowing how to grow or when to go. A step-by-step guide on the next A Balanced Life on Black Star Network.
This is Essence Atkins.
What's the love king of R&B, Raheem Devon?
It's me, Sherry Shepard, and you know what you watch.
You're watching Roland Martin, Unfiltered.
Folks, we have been covering this story for years. In fact, the first episode of Roland Martin Unfiltered, we talked about Crystal Mason, what she has endured in Texas. This started in 2016. That's how long this case has been going on. When she tried to vote in the election, she, bottom line is, didn't realize that she could not vote. Folks, they have been pursuing her to send her to prison since 2016. Late last night, the Texas Second Court of Appeals acquitted Crystal Mason, and she was facing 5 years in prison for that conviction. She and her attorney, Kim Cole, join us right now. Crystal, free at last.
Yes. Yes.
What was your reaction when you got news of the appeals court? Because they heard it a year ago. So you've been waiting for this decision for a year, and it came down late last night.
Yes. When I heard the news from my attorney, ACLU, gave me a call, I was overwhelmed, filled with joy, just thanking God for carrying me through this long 7 years. This journey was very rough. And I'm just so grateful right now. I'm just thanking God every step of the way, because I know this wouldn't happen if it wasn't from him. So that's where I'm at. I'm just so grateful right now. I'm so thankful for all the support that I have had on this journey. Thank you, Roland Martin. Thank you for covering my story every time you had a chance. Thank you.
Kim, absolutely. I mean, look, it was a case that it was nuts from day one. And the stuff that they put you through. And for people who don't know, you were out, you had served time in federal prison, you were out, and as a result of this, you had to go back to federal prison as a parole violation, correct?
Correct. As a supervised release violation, yes. My supervised release in my trial in 2018, he testified on the stand and said, no, we never told her she couldn't vote. No, she never signed anything. I was doing everything I was supposed to do. I came out and been productive in society, raising my business, my kids and everything. And I went to fill out a provisional ballot because I believe I had the right to vote. And I was sentenced to 5 years. And from that, Judge McBride determined that I should go to prison because I caught a new offense. And they sent me back to prison for 10 months and gave me another 24 months on supervised release.
So you were on supervised release, you have to go back in for 10 months, then they added 2 years to that.
Correct, yes.
And so, again, you had a job, you had a home, so now it completely disrupts your life. You come out, and then when you come out, Tarrant County is still trying to pursue you.
Correct. Absolutely.
Kim, here's what, again, it just befuddled me from the beginning. That her ballot actually was never cast, correct?
It was never counted.
Right. It was never counted.
No.
But it was like, I mean, these prosecutors in Tarrant County, they took such a hardcore position. It was like, no. We gonna make an example out of this black woman.
Well, Roland, that's what the prosecutor said in his summation at the trial. He specifically requested that the judge send a message to the voters and to sentence Crystal to a stern prison sentence. Roland, make no mistake, the court's ruling today could have been made years ago. It could have been made in that courtroom the same day she went to trial. The judge ruled that the evidence presented in Crystal's case did not add up to her knowing that she was not eligible to vote. We've been saying that the whole time, Roland. Have we not?
Yeah.
She didn't know. She did not know. She said that on the stand that day. Their own witnesses, as Crystal said, the supervisor over the region of the Federal Bureau of Prisons testified on the stand. This was their witness. He testified. We never told her anything.
So he testifies we never told her. She doesn't know, and they're like, damn that. We're sending her to prison.
It was to send a message, Roland. Tarrant County is one of the largest. Matter of fact, I believe it's the only urban red district in this country.
Yep.
And their motto is to keep Tarrant County red. Period. It doesn't matter if an innocent woman has to go to jail. They had an agenda, and they wanted to send a message to the voters of Tarrant County. That's what the DA specifically requested. But Roland, what they got, the message that was sent wasn't the message that was received.
Mm-hmm.
It ignited a fire in Crystal, and she, as well as almost every member of her family now, are deputized to register people to vote.
There you go. Crystal, how did it make you feel when we kept seeing these stories, like this one right here, where a Georgia Republican Party official voted illegally 9 times, and all he got was a $5,000 fine?
It saddened me that you actually had people that really committed crimes. You actually had people that actually voted. You have people that voted twice, 2-3 times up under somebody else's name, and yet they were looked over. So I know exactly what the purpose was.
Yeah, I mean, here's an NBC story. Brian Pritchard, first vice chair of the Georgia Republican Party and a conservative talk show host, was fined $5,000 for voting illegally and registering to vote while serving a sentence for a felony conviction. Pritchard was also ordered not to commit further violations, to face public reprimand for his conduct, and to pay the state elections board investigative costs. They basically did this here. For you, this man voted 9 times.
Huh.
For you, it didn't even count. They said, stick this woman in prison.
Roland, you don't even have to look to Georgia. In the same county, there was a judge who forged signatures to get his name on the ballot in Tarrant County. And he got off with probation.
Wow.
Same county. And let's not forget, this is the same county where the affluenza teen case came out of. A young man committed several crimes, stole alcohol, stole a vehicle, killed 4 people, and got off with probation.
And Crystal, you were in 2016. What Kim was talking about, go to my iPad. That judge, that happened 2018.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Unbelievable. So Kim, is it all over? Or
no, it's not over. It's not over. Oh no.
Is
they must. Oh, you talking about the criminal case?
No, right. The criminal case.
Okay. The criminal
now,
case.
Can Tarrant County appeal this decision?
They can. They better not. Because they did that before. They made the wrong decision years ago when we first appealed it, right? We had to appeal their decision. The Texas Court of Criminal Appeals came back and said, yeah, you might want to take a second look at that because that's not what the law says. The law says that she has to know that she's not eligible to vote. And they upheld her conviction, saying that it was enough that she knew that she was on supervised release. That doesn't even make any sense. Who doesn't know their own circumstances?
Right.
That's silly. So that's the standard they applied. So the Court of Criminal Appeals sent it back down. They remanded it back to the Second Court of Appeals, who made their ruling last night. They sent it back and said, you guys might want to take a second look at this because you applied the wrong interpretation of the statute. Even though the statute clearly says that the person commits the offense if they vote in an election or attempt to vote in an election, which the person knows that he or she is not eligible to vote.
You said
it's in there. You said the person has to know.
You said this is not over. What's next for y'all?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Tarrant County cost Crystal and her family years of, I would almost call it a terroristic act. She was a political prisoner for a while because she had to go back to prison.
Yep.
And this was all behind a political ploy. So Tarrant County owes Crystal Mason.
And y'all gonna sue the county?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Crystal, there was a brother in Houston who voted in 2020. He waited 6 hours in line.
Yeah.
They arrested him. He was found hadn't done anything wrong. He said this year, I'm not voting again. He was so traumatized by that. He says, I'm not voting again. Ron DeSantis in Florida had the cops arrest a number of formerly incarcerated people. And all of those cases were legally voting, and all of those, and they were told they could vote, and every single one of those cases were thrown out. Do you believe that this is an effort by Republicans in Texas and Florida and elsewhere to send a chilling effect and to scare any person, but especially any black person who had previously served time in prison or jail?
Absolutely. That's exactly what it was. It was to take a mother with kids to jail in the black and the brown community for again, who encouraged you to go vote? Your mother, your grandmother. They instilled that in you. So, of course, that's exactly what they did, because that would make somebody say, oh, no, I'm not going to go vote, and I can possibly go to jail, leave my kids, my family. So that's exactly what they did. And I'm just grateful for the outcome, to let people know that don't let my story, took 7 long years, but don't let my story discourage you, but encourage you to go to the polls, because our votes matter.
Finally, this criminal aspect is over. How are you going to celebrate?
Oh, wow. Right now, I'm just trying to take it in. Like, I'm still shocked. I couldn't sleep last night. I woke up early this morning calling Kim, and I'm just overwhelmed. Like, it's hit me, but it hadn't really hit me. You know, like, wow, that I'm really done. I'm off of an appeal bond that I've been on for 6 years. I'm off. Wow.
And are you completely done with your federal requirements?
Yeah, I've been done with that, yes.
Well, Kim, Crystal, y'all let us know when you drop that damn lawsuit against Tarrant County, because we absolutely will have you on, because they deserve to be sued, because their actions were beyond despicable. And every single prosecutor involved in this, shame on them.
Will do, Roland. This was malicious, and we absolutely will let you know.
All right.
Thank you for following this from beginning to end.
Absolutely. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
We're going to go to a break. We'll chat with our panel about this. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Support our work. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Send your check and money order to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo's RM Unfiltered. Zelle. Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr, we look at one of the most influential and prominent Black Americans of the 20th century. His work literally changed the world. Among other things, he played a major role in creating the United Nations. He was the first African American and first person of color to win the Nobel Peace Prize. And yet today, he is hardly a household name. We're talking, of course, about Ralph J. Bunche. A new book refers to him as the absolutely indispensable man.
His lifelong interest and passion in racial justice, specifically in the form of colonialism. And he saw his work as an activist and advocate for the Black community here in the United States as just the other side of the coin of his work trying to roll back European empire in Africa.
Author Cal Rostiala will join us to share his incredible story. That's on the next Black Table, here on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I am Tommy Davidson. I play Oscar on Proud Family, Louder and Prouder. I don't play Sammy, but I could. Or I don't play Obama, but I could. I don't do Stallone, but I could do all that. And I am here with Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
Folks, welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go to my panel. Matt, I'll start with you. If there's anybody, Matt, who should be targeted in re-election, is this man right here. This is Phil Sorrells. He is the district attorney for Tarrant County. Every Black person in Tarrant County should be campaigning against this man, because he could have easily said, y'all, enough is enough. Listen, we messed it up, but bottom line is she went to federal prison for 10 months on a violation. Why in the hell are we trying to pursue 5 damn years for a ballot that never even got counted?
Yeah, they should definitely primary him. And I'm really glad that this story came up today, because just yesterday I got an opinion from my local court of appeals where I lost an appeal that I'm going to take up. But I wanted to tell the viewers that it's extremely difficult to win on appeal, especially in the second Court of Appeals, which is there over Tarrant County. It's one of the most conservative in the whole state. So what happens on appeal most of the time is the judges on appeal are looking to see whether the judge below made a mistake. And what I'm so happy that Ms. Cole mentioned is that, you know, they actually lost on appeal at the first level. Now in Texas, we have 2 Supreme Courts essentially. We have one that's all civil called the Texas Supreme Court, and one that is all criminal called the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals. So what's important about this is the highest level criminal court in the state of Texas said that they used the wrong law and the evidence was insufficient. They sent it back, and the lower court of appeals found the right decision. What's so remarkable about that is it's very, very difficult to win on appeal. What's also remarkable about this is that there was ever a conviction. This is a case every day of the week. A prosecutor who has their eyes open should recognize not only could they not prove this case, but they don't have the requisite evidence that she didn't know. And obviously the testimony corroborated that. And what's scary about this is if they want to make a political statement, they can completely sacrifice all decency and just run you through the ringer as they did her. Now, I'm glad to hear that her attorney said the word malicious, because what I thought is the way this lawsuit will likely be brought is a malicious prosecution lawsuit and or a selective enforcement lawsuit under the 14th Amendment, because it's pretty clear that in this very county, you have other people who have engaged in the same alleged conduct who have not received anything punitive at all, let alone punitive to this extent. So hopefully they're successful in that lawsuit. And I'll tell you, those are difficult lawsuits considering all the immunities that prosecutors and judges have. But the larger principle is, you know, one, they climbed the mountain and they won an extremely difficult case that they should never have had to be a part of. But 2, it's scary that despite all our systems of checks and balances and purported rule of law following, if they want to get you and they're out to get you, they will do what they can to get you. And that's what happened in this case. And I'm glad she had a formidable team that fought for her and won against all odds at the appeal.
I mean, this was absolutely malicious prosecution in every regard, Kelly. I mean, it just made no sense. I mean, literally, the man testifies, we never instructed her that she could not vote. She did not know. They were like, yeah, whatever.
No, I have to remember what exactly was happening exactly 8 years ago, right? Not necessarily to the day, but what was happening 8 years ago. We were in the middle of yet another election, and Trump was on the ballot for the first time. And if you recall, and I'm sure you do, there was already hints in the air of possibly, prosecuting people for, false ballots and trying to vote fraudulently and the like. And this case, to me, makes it abundantly clear that she was used incorrectly as an example for the right to feel validated in their response to fraudulent voting, and why Black people need to have restrictive access to voting, right? So now that the fire has somewhat sort of died just a little, just enough for this to more or less slide under the radar. If it weren't for your show, she would be free, and frankly, nobody would know about it because it's not necessarily being covered. So that's my perspective on this. This was a purely political move on behalf of Tarrant County. I agree with I believe Matt said something along the lines of this. The DA for Tarrant County needs to be primaried because this needs to be in the face of every voter, not just Black voters, but white voters, Hispanic voters, Asian voters, any voter in that county. Because if anything, that DA has made it clear that it's not just Black people who are on the line for having their rights taken away. It appears to be that if you are against any of his ideologies at all, if you are against any GOP ideology at all, he will try to prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law, unnecessarily so. He will attack you until he can attack no more. And that's what we are seeing with this woman here, Crystal Mason. Thankfully, that leg of the process is over and she can get her just due in civil court.
This, Michael, would make me a one-issue voter. I don't give a damn about anything else. Take his ass out at the ballot box. Take this man, Phil Sorrells, out at the ballot box. And if he chooses not to run and retires, and any of his other people, and they were involved in this decision, take their asses out too.
Absolutely, Roland. We have to understand why people suppress our vote, especially Republicans. They fear our vote, and Republicans fear our vote oftentimes more than we value our vote. And this is why I've said before numerous times on your show, we have to stop telling African Americans to exercise your right to vote. If you want to exercise, you go to the gym and work out. You vote for power. You vote for Black power. And historically, you've had, in these former Confederate states, they've put impediments in the way of the 15th Amendment because they feared African Americans voting these people out of office and having political power. In the 1940s in Texas, they had what we'll call all-white primaries. The Democratic Party was given power by the state legislature to have all-white primaries and exclude African Americans from the primaries. This led to the U.S. Supreme Court case in 1944 of Smith versus Allwright that was won by Thurgood Marshall on behalf of Lonnie E. Smith, and the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that all-white primaries were unconstitutional. So there's a deep history of this in Texas. And then when you talked about the article from NBCnews.com, Brian Pritchard, first vice chairman of the Georgia Republican Party, a judge ruled that he voted illegally 9 times. Now, this is the same guy who spread claims of widespread voter fraud in the stolen election in 2020. And this guy voted illegally 9 times. You can't make this stuff up. This is why these people have to be defeated each time at the ballot box, including in 2024. This is about self-preservation.
Absolutely. And again, this woman, I mean, just imagine you serve time in federal prison, you get out, you're on supervised released, you're with your family, you're in a home, you got a job, and then this happens, and then they go, oh, no, you got to go back to federal prison. 10 months. Added 2 years. Then when she gets out of federal prison, they still pursue her to throw her in state prison. I mean, it is beyond me. And I'm telling you, Matt, every black person and every person of conscience in Tarrant County should be completely motivated in the next election to say, Phil got to go.
Yeah, I'm with you completely. I mean, it's abhorrent what they did to her, and what's so sad about it is, frankly, I think they probably thought, look, she's a felon from having been in the federal system, and one, she's a black woman, so we know that they were targeting her, right? And that's just what evidence shows here. But I bet they felt like they, had cover, because here, in fact, in the judge's opinion, they talked about how her prior conviction was something relating to an alleged fraud or something. So they were claiming that her testimony may not have been considered credible. But the reason that all of that is hogwash is because they had evidence from people involved in the process who testified they hadn't told her she could not vote. And what's so problematic about that is in Texas, we actually have laws that relate to the restoration of former felons' rights, but also the possession of guns. And a lot of those laws are written very nebulously. I've literally had clients come to my office before who were getting off of parole or off of supervised release, and they just could not understand whether the law empowered them to do certain things because the law is written poorly. So here, where you have evidence where they've said we did not apprise her that she could not vote, that to me would have killed it as a prosecutor. I would have said, no, well, we don't have any evidence to prove that she had the requisite intent that we need. But if you're trying to target somebody for a political purpose, then you overlook that. And that's why I'm hoping that their malicious prosecution claim will be successful, because this is as prima facie evidence as it comes, I think.
Take them out. Take them out. All right, folks, going to go to break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Don't go anywhere. Back shortly.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
This is Attorney Demario Solomon Simmons. I'm a national civil rights attorney. I'm also the founder and executive director of Justice for Greenwood. Many of you guys know I've been leading the fight for the last 2 living survivors and the Greenwood community overall. We have a historic hearing coming up on April 2nd at 1:30 p.m. in front of the Oklahoma Supreme Court. I need all of you to support us as we try to get justice for this issue for the first time in almost 103 years. Sign up to support us during this hearing on Tuesday, justiceforgreenwood.org/watch party, April 2nd, 1:30 p.m. We need your support, your messages, and your prayers. We appreciate you. Justice for Greenwood.
I'm Faraji Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
My name is Lena Charles, and I'm from Opelousas, Louisiana. Yes, that is Zydeco capital of the world.
My name is Margaret Chappelle. I'm from Dallas, Texas, representing the Urban Trivia Game.
It's me, Sherry Shepard, and you know what you watch.
Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
All right, folks, welcome back. Tennessee Governor Bill Lee has appointed 8 Tennessee State University alums to the Board of Trustees. We discussed that yesterday and even laid out exactly who all of those members are. Here they are again. Now, the folks at Tennessee Holler, they, of course, are a nemesis of the Republicans there in the legislature. They actually shot this video here where the Speaker of the House said, oh, there were some Democrats who were very much supportive of this effort. Listen to this.
What did you think about the TSU bill in there? Did you feel like the optics are as bad as some of those Democrats were saying?
No, because you had the Democrat caucus that we worked with, and that some were supporting it.
Who was supporting it? They didn't seem to be supportive of that.
You need to go talk to them.
There were no Dems that voted for that.
Behind the scenes, they were.
Oh, behind the scenes? Oh, you're trying to start stuff, huh? Which ones?
Of course, now attention has to turn to what is next, to have conversations with the governor and his administration about board members, the composition of those members.
Yeah, we just heard from Speaker, and they said that you guys, some Democrat lawmakers, were aware that they were going to bring this matter forward and were on board. Is that true?
We had an amendment in government operations that vacated 3 board members. That was the amendment we thought was going to be on the bill. Now, I was told when session started that there would be a substitute conforming to the Senate bill. And we're never on board with a total vacating of.
Now, House Representative Antonio Perkins, yesterday, before the House voted, questioned why was Tennessee State the only public university in Tennessee that was hit with 5 audits in 1 year?
And Chairman Reagan, I think I know you, and you know me. I know what kind of person you are. I'm not gonna sit here and call anybody in this room a racist or say that this is a racist issue, but I will talk about it being disparate, because I don't want my mic cut off. But let's talk about the difference in how this university is treated. Let's talk about the fact that we had a finding of $544 million that was actually commissioned by our very own speaker. $250 million of those dollars were given to Tennessee State University the next year, and I wish that we had not given that $250 million to Tennessee State University, because that's when the fight began. As soon as the money was given to Tennessee State University, all of the problems became apparent or were sought after. $2 million put into the budget for an audit for a university. Disparate, never, ever happened in the history of the state of Tennessee. 7 audits. Y'all didn't know that, did you? 7 audits, 5 of them by the state. Those of you from East Tennessee, UT has never dealt with a situation like that. And I'm just talking about the disparate treatment of the one black university in our state. You have to ask yourself this, right? $544 million. Imagine what Tennessee State University looks like with an influx of $544 million. Imagine the people that could be there answering phones, helping students, scholarships, housing. But instead, we choose to hand over $250 million and then tell them how bad of a job they're doing. Well, how can you do a good job if you are short $544 million? Now, I want to speak to these members. I want to speak to these members that I know have an independent mindset. I want to speak to the Sam Whitsons. I want to speak to the Mark Whites, the John Gillespies, the Lowell Russells.
Representative Parkinson, I would ask you not to call out names because that gets you in a position. So Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thought I was speaking positively of them. But to those members who know when right is right and wrong is wrong, who will speak to the disparate treatment of our HBCU, our one land grant institution that we know has not been treated properly. Then we turn the tables on them and say, you didn't get this corrected in the correct amount of time. Well, let's do 7 audits or 5 audits from the state, and especially one for $2 million that's looking for criminal activity on UT. Let's see how clean their audits come back. And I'm sorry, UT and President, I love you, but I'm just trying to make a point, y'all. This is not right. We have the power to let this action be corrected. Let me tell you about power in my 47 seconds. Power gives you the ability to bless someone or the ability to destroy someone. You only get 2 things with power: the ability to bless someone or the ability to destroy someone. And to you members, I'm going to ask you this. How are you going to use your power today?
Let's go to our panel. The thing, we discussed this yesterday, Matt, and we've been talking about it all week. First of all, folks, we're going to be broadcasting live from Nashville on Monday. You can go and show the graphic. 11 a.m. Local time, 12 Eastern. We're going to be in the state capitol rotunda broadcasting a news conference. And then that evening, we're going to be on the campus of Tennessee State University hosting a 2-hour town forum, broadcasting from there. Guys, you have the graphic? All right. So we're going to be there broadcasting. Our goal, of course, is to highlight these issues and to speak to the issues. Again, everybody's invited. It's open to the public that evening. We'll be on the campus again of Tennessee State. And so look forward to that conversation. Matt, you heard the representative there, Representative Parkinson, talk about they had a committee 2 years ago that showed that Tennessee State had been underfunded to the tune of $544 million. Then in September, the Biden-Harris administration sent letters out. Education Secretary Cardona and Vilsack, Ag Secretary, stating that a number of HBCU land grant institutions in about 16 states, frankly, had been cheated out of $13 billion in land grant money. In Georgia, the Black Caucus there sued Georgia. Fort Valley State, for instance, they said was owed $603 million. And I said yesterday to Tennessee Representative Harold Ford, and he said, well, we were hoping we'd get this taken care of in the budget. I'm sitting there going, no, you got to sue them. I think there should be massive lawsuits in every single state where you have a public HBCU where they have been cheated out of this money.
Story like this about Florida, and I think it was FAMU with a similar issue where they've been cheated out of money for decades. And that's what's so horrible about this, is that they've underfunded this school for a very long time and are hyper fixated on trying to find issues there, despite the fact in one of the articles that I read that the University of Tennessee, at Knoxville, apparently had some of the same housing issues and some of the other issues that have been attributed to TSU and its audit. And what I think is interesting about this situation is I was on the Tennessee State website to make sure I learned more about how the Board of Trustees is populated. And it looks like under Tennessee law, the governor gets to appoint 8 of those 10 members on the board. So that's a problem, because it seems like the lack of local governance is baked into the law, and it creates a situation where if you have a supermajority or you have a Republican or somebody who is an enemy of the school, essentially, they can vacate a board because they serve at the pleasure of the governor. And I don't know all the procedural requirements for that, but the larger issue is if the schools don't have local autonomy and local authority, then they're always subject to this exact thing happening. And what we know is it's targeting, full stop. I mean, the fact that UT Knoxville has had some of the same issues and has not had an inordinate number of audits in a very short period of time and isn't being called to the carpet shows you that they are looking for fault with the black school where they're not looking for fault with other flagship universities. But I think part of the issue is going forward, there needs to be a recalibration of how the schools can even govern themselves. And I know there are probably similar mechanisms in other states and similar board of trustee type situations, but the problem is Tennessee State needs to be able to govern itself. And the problem is with Bill Lee now being able to put in all 10 people on this board, or rather all 8 of them, I think that are appointed by him. And then there's one other member that's populated, I think, by the school, a faculty member. That allows him to control, and Republicans, frankly, to control Tennessee State's future going forward. So there are multiple issues at play here, and I think it's called the Focus Act. And if I were a Democrat in Tennessee, I would be working nonstop to repeal that so that the local schools have local autonomy.
The thing here that I am trying, and we've been sounding this alarm, Kelly, and every HBCU where Republicans have a supermajority, they had better prepare themselves, because Republicans are going to repeat this kind of crap here all across the country, and especially all across the South.
Absolutely. And I would go a step further and say, even if you have an HBCU that is not in a GOP stronghold, I would still urge those HBCUs to fight to make sure and ensure that they have self-governing capabilities, because politics are politics. There's no guarantee that your governor will always be an HBCU advocate. So you need to prepare yourself to make sure that anything that comes your way, you have solid footing, and you won't be swayed one way or the other. But what I will say regarding Tennessee specifically, it is astounding to me how the $500 million that they have not yet received. That's how underfunded they have been. And yet they have some of the most incredible alumni in the world. They have some of the best students on the planet right now. The education that people get at TSU and every HBCU is bar none. And the fact that we have a history of being underfunded, the fact that we have a history of being disenfranchised and overlooked and underfunded across the board, and yet you still have this legacy of excellence. Can you imagine if we actually were funded, if we actually did get our worth? And it wouldn't just be a benefit to just Black students. It would literally be a benefit to the entire country, because it would be a reflection of the entire higher education system in this country and how excellent it can all be. But racism rears its ugly head every time. And we get stuff like this. And it to me, it's just sad. The fact that racism disenfranchises everyone, but they only think of themselves, and that's how things like this just keep going and perpetuate.
Michael, I'm telling you, people need to understand, when you start looking at CRT, woke, right, DEI, affirmative action decision, everybody kept talking about after the affirmative action decision, oh, this is a silver lining for HBCUs. No, it's not. They are going to be attacked. And these Republicans are not going to want these places to be bastions of Black power.
Correct, Roland. All this is a continuation of the U.S. Civil War in the Reconstruction. If you understand what these white supremacists were doing from 1865 to 1877, then going into the Jim Crow era, where they're rewriting state constitutions to impose poll taxes and literacy tests to attack African Americans. This is a continuation of this, and it's a continuation of them using the laws and the power of the state legislature as well as the governorship to attack African Americans. I've said numerous times on this show, politics is the legal distribution of scarce wealth, power, and resources, and in the writing of laws, statutes, ordinances, amendments, and treaties. And this is what we're seeing here. Everything that governs our lives turns on the vote. And reading the article from NBC News on this, as well as one from News Channel 5, Nashville, they talk about how over a 30-year period of time, Tennessee State University has been underfunded by the tune of $2.1 billion. billion. Okay, and that's underfunded from the state.
Right? No. The 544 million is from the state. The 2.1 billion, that's what they're owed from the federal because of those land grant dollars from the federal government.
Land grant is land grant colleges. Yeah, land grant.
No, and that's what I'm saying. So yesterday, when Harold Love was on, he said that you had Republicans. They were trying to mix the two together. It's supposed to be those are two separate pools of money. A Tennessee committee in 2022 determined that Tennessee State was owed they were underfunded to the tune of $544 million by the state. That 2.1 billion, that's what they actually are owed as a result of those federal dollars.
Okay, so we're talking about close to 2.6 billion or so.
2.6 billion. Yep.
2.6 billion, exactly. Okay, so all of this is a fight over money and power, scarce wealth, power, and resources, and this also deals with the power of a governor. Okay, because the governor has the authority to appoint the board to this HBCU, Tennessee State University. And first of all, you did a fantastic segment, Roland. I watched the entire thing. It was about 46 minutes. And Dr. Greg Carr yesterday was fantastic as well in his analysis on this. And he said that these white supremacists are running a Boston on us, and this is going to be the model that they use from state to state to state. So this is why we have to fight back. This is about self-preservation.
I keep letting folks know that this thing is real. So folk need to understand it's happening now. While that happened, the governor also signed a bill repealing police traffic stop reforms made in Memphis after the fatal beating of Tyree Nichols by Memphis cops in January 2023. GOP lawmakers pushed this bill despite pleas from Nichols' parents to give them a chance to find a compromise. Lee's signature means that the law outlaws so-called pretextual traffic stops, such as for a broken tail light and other minor violations, that law is immediately rendered null and void. Lee agreed with Republican lawmakers who said Nichols' death needed to result in accountability for officers who abuse power, but not new limits on how authorities conduct traffic stops. And this is what we talk about, and the fact that they did. I mean, this is all because, Matt, they have a supermajority, and they can do whatever they want, and it doesn't matter what Democrats have to say.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it goes back to the same point I made earlier about local control and divesting Memphis, a Democratic stronghold, of its autonomy. But what I think is especially insidious about this particular bill is the messaging that they're trying to advance. And what they're saying is, yeah, the officers who engaged in this need to be held accountable, but we don't need to take away officers' ability to do what they think is right on the street. And they're trying to sell that as though it gives officers more freedom to make, the stops that they think are appropriate in enforcing the law. But what it's really saying is we think the people in Memphis, one, can't do something that is, a justice reform measure where you're going to stop officers from being able to use pretext stops, which is one of the biggest issues in policing, pretext stops, where they pull you over for some minor infraction to try to search your car or do some other thing, and a major arrest ends up coming out of it, right? That happens all the time where they use a pretext to stop you. So not stopping the police officers in Memphis from doing this sends a message to say, one, we don't think you can govern yourselves, and two, we're going to give police officers carte blanche to do whatever they want, even if it is shown that those pretext stops don't correlate with a large number of felony stops and are racially divisive and racially discriminatory, which we know that they are both in Tennessee and across the country. So I think the messaging especially is problematic here because the people of Memphis elect their representatives, and those representatives have the autonomy to decide what is best for their community. And that is normally what we hear conservatives trumpet in all of the state houses where conservatives have a supermajority, including here in Texas. So it's interesting that they turn back on their own word and ideology when it's advantageous for them to do so, despite crowing this all the rest of the time.
The crazy thing for me, Kelly, is you got people who don't even live in Memphis, who are not from Memphis, who are now telling Memphis what they can do. And I guarantee you those same Republicans will be mad as hell if Memphis are telling them what to do in their city, in their county.
Well, sure, but if anything that the GOP is good for, it's hypocrisy. So what's good for the goose isn't always necessarily good for the gander as far as they're concerned. If it's good for them, it's good. If it's good for somebody else, it's bad, and they don't want that to happen. So I echo Matt's sentiments, but really this boils down to a power grab, a disenfranchisement yet again of people of color in that jurisdiction, and trying to maintain what little power they still have and have an attempt to grow that power so that they don't come back into this situation. But hopefully with voting, with vigilance, some things can turn back around.
We say it all the time, Michael, why voting matters. You've got Republicans in Louisiana, that MAGA Jeff Landry, now the governor. Now they want to rewrite the state's constitution in 2 weeks. People better understand what happened when you stay your ass at home. So all y'all people sitting there talking about, I'm going to go ahead and stay at home in November. Okay.
You're a damn fool. You're a damn fool and don't understand history. Go back to 1898 when Louisiana rewrote their state constitution. They imposed poll taxes, literacy tests, a grandfather clause, but they also imposed a 9-3 clause for criminal court cases, so that if you were found guilty in a criminal court case, it didn't have to be unanimous. It could be 9-3. And they did this specifically, when you go research this, they did this specifically to nullify any African Americans that were on a jury, because it was legal for African Americans to serve on juries in Louisiana in 1898. So they did that so that if African Americans on the jury found that an African American defendant was not guilty, 9 white people found them guilty, guess what? You're guilty and you go to prison. Then decades later, it was switched to 10-2. It was made unanimous somewhere around 2018, okay? So this is a legacy of that Jim Crow era. Your understanding of politics is directly related to your understanding of history. When I hear people talking about not voting, staying at home, they are trying to wipe us off of the political chessboard. They're doing it at the state legislature level. They're doing it at the local level. They're trying to take back the White House, keep the House of Representatives, and take back the Senate. And then if you study what the Heritage Foundation is trying to do with Project 2025, okay, they're trying to repeat the same game that they ran in 1980 with the first Reagan administration. The Heritage Foundation, this right-wing think tank, they put out a book that contained 2,000 policies that they wanted enacted by the Reagan administration. The Reagan administration enacted 60% of those policies: downsizing government, reversing policies that were beneficial for African Americans. They're trying to do the same thing again because it worked, and we still haven't figured this out. This is why voting is so important, but you have to understand history, economics, law, and politics, and how all this comes together.
Hold tight for 1 second. When we come back, we're going to talk about folks now targeting a scholarship named after George Floyd. Y'all, I'm telling you, anything out there for black folks, they coming after it. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
As bad as Trump was, his economy was worse, and Black America felt it the most. He cut health insurance while giving tax breaks to the wealthy and big business. As president, I put money in pockets and capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. There's a lot more to do, but we can do it together.
I'm Dee Barnes, and next on The Frequency, Beyonce has always been country. We're talking to music, pop culture, and politics writer Taylor Crumpton about her new article on Beyonce's new country songs and how country music has always been part of Black culture.
Since the release of Texas Hold'em and 16 Carriages, there has been
a definition of what Black country music is and a definition of what white country music is. White country music historically has always won the awards, have always got the certifications. Black country music has not. This is a conversation you don't want to miss. That's next on The Frequency on the Black Star Network.
Hello, I'm Paula J. Parker. Truly proud on the Proud Family, Louder and Prouder on Disney+. And you're watching Roland Martin, Unfiltered.
Well, white conservatives strike again. This time they're going after Minnesota's North Central University's George Floyd Memorial Scholarship for young Black students. A legal complaint filed by the Equal Protection Project with the Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights says that the scholarship violates Title VI of the Civil Rights Act by exclusively qualifying for Black students. The law prohibits intentional discrimination based on race, color, or national origin in any federally funded program or activity. Here's the scholarship's description. Thank you for your interest in the George Floyd Memorial Scholarship. The George Floyd Memorial Scholarship provides a way to invest in a new generation of young Black Americans, poised and ready to be leaders in our community and our nation. We believe that the George Floyd Memorial Scholarship will enable North Central University to increase our number of Black students who will impact the learning environment in a positive manner. Diversifying our learning environment is key to being a university that looks and acts like heaven. Well, guess what? These are the requirements here. But let's just be real clear. These folk here, they ain't Christian. They don't care. And bottom line here is, Michael, and I keep warning people. I keep warning them. If it's any program to help Black people, oh, these white racists coming after all of them.
Yes, they are, Roland. And this is a continuation of the conversation that we had with the sisters who founded the Fearless Fund and the lawsuit that white conservative Ed Bloom filed. Now, I know they're citing Title VI of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. I guess they're citing Section 601, non-discrimination in federally assisted programs, which makes race-based programs illegal. If people go to archives.gov and read the 1964 Civil Rights Act and look at Title VI, Section 601, it explains it there. Now, what the distinction that I need made, are these federal funds, Roland, or are these like funds from another source? Because the 1964 Civil Rights Act, Section 601, deals with federally funded, federally assisted programs.
Well, they're claiming because this university receives federal funds, there can't be a scholarship that targets African Americans. Matt?
So, Michael kind of got right where I was going to go. I think it's a matter now of changing the strategy. And I think that schools who want to provide a scholarship like this need to have a link on their website that shows all the available scholarships. But the money has to come from a completely private entity, private endowment, or private foundation. Because what's problematic about this, I read the Title VI complaint, and I have a case adjacent to a Title VI complaint right now. And it's exactly, from my understanding, what you said. It is an organization or an entity that receives federal funding. If they're discriminating in the benefits of their programming, then they're in violation of the law. And what makes this very tenuous legally is the case from last year, Students for Fair Admissions versus Harvard. They've actually cited that case in their Title VI letter to the Department of Education Civil Rights Office. And what it says in that case is it says that even if the motive is essentially a positive one, i.e. to empower people of a particular protected class, here, Black Americans, it runs afoul of the law. And the problem is, I don't think they're wrong, at least as it relates to the letter of the law. So now it's incumbent on us, people who are trying to support Black students particularly, to find ways around that. And frankly, that has to be completely private money that's doling out these scholarships that is not in any way, adherent to the federal funding or receiving federal funding. And that's what I see as the problem here, because they're trying to use it as both, a sword and a shield, essentially, in saying, well, if you are saying that we're discriminating by not allowing enough black students in, or, as it relates to admissions programs, then anything that is just for black people is something that runs afoul of the law. And the way the law is written, I think there is a little bit of a hole there. So I don't know how to do that beyond strategizing and putting the money in a pot that has no federal funding whatsoever.
Kelly?
No, I echo the sentiments of Matt here. I immediately thought of the scholarships that I have received in the course of my academic work. And because I went to an HBCU, or was from an HBCU going into other academia, there were scholarships in place, again, almost completely privately funded, that were targeting people of color in very unique ways. So it wasn't that white people couldn't get them, but you had to be where black people are in order to get them, that being an HBCU. So if you like Matt said, you have to be strategic in this regard in order to get what you need. And there will always be a way to get black people what they need. So I'm not necessarily worried about that, but I will say that it is frustrating for what I find to be a somewhat dying breed of Americans being this staunchly racist, this gung-ho and adamant about not helping people of color, still controlling what is necessary for people of color to survive and thrive in this country. Hopefully, like I said, this dying breed will die off sooner rather than later. But in the meantime, strategies will come into play to make sure that we have what we need.
Indeed. Michael, Kelly, Matt, I appreciate y'all being on today's show. Thank you so very much. Folks, when we come back, we'll continue our tribute to the late, great Louis Gossett Jr., who passed away last night at the age of 87. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network.
This is Attorney Demario Solomon Simmons. I'm a national civil rights attorney. I'm also the founder and executive director of Justice for Greenwood. Many of you guys know I've been leading the fight for the last 2 living survivors and the Greenwood community overall. We have a historic hearing coming up on April 2nd at 1:30 p.m. in front of the Oklahoma Supreme Court. I need all of you to support us as we try to get justice for this issue for the first time in almost 103 years. Sign up to support us during this hearing on Tuesday, justiceforgreenwood.org/watch party, April 2nd, 1:30 p.m. We need your support, your messages, and your prayers. We appreciate you. Justice for Greenwood.
On the next, A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie. People can't live with them, can't live without them. Our relationships often have more ups and downs than a boardwalk roller coaster, but it doesn't have to be that way.
Trust your gut. Whenever your gut is like, this isn't healthy, this isn't right, I don't like the way that I'm being treated. This goes for males and females. Trust your gut, and then whenever that gut feeling comes, have a conversation.
Knowing how to grow or when to go. A step-by-step guide on the next A Balanced Life on Black Star Network.
Janet actually called me, and she said, "Do you remember us having an argument in the studio, whatever?" And I said, "No, not really, because we never argued in the studio." And she said, "Well, there's this piece we found, and can you come over and watch it with me?" And I said, "Sure." And I went over and watched it, and I loved it. I just started laughing. I said, "This is great, Janet." And she said, "Okay, so you're okay with this?" I said, "Yeah, I'm fine with it." Because literally, we worked together for, I don't know how many days we've been in the studio together, and literally we had maybe one argument like that, right? And it was captured. But of course, that's the thing that absolutely people want to see. But yeah, that kind of thing happens. Some days that's with your voice isn't good today. Let's just go see a movie, or let's go just chill, or some days it's tough love, like you got to do that again.
I'm Jo Marie Payton, voice of Sugar Mama on Disney's Louder and Prouder Disney Plus, and I'm with Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
You laughing at me, dick brain? No, sir! You better stop eyeballing me, boy. I'll rip your eyeballs out the sockets and skull fuck you to death. Yes, sir! What's your name, boy? Mayo. Zach Mayo, sir. How did you slip into this program? I didn't know the Navy was so hard up.
The winner is Louis Gossett Jr.
You know, when you prepare a speech, it's no use because it's all gone. I tried to get my kid to come up here to share this with me, but there are some special people I would like to share this with. Specifically, tomorrow is the 17th anniversary of my relationship with my one agent, Mr. Ed Bondi. They say marriages don't last. I've got a spirit that guides me, starting with my great-grandmother who died at the age of 117, and my mom and dad, who I know are watching, and my cousin Yvonne, thank you. You make everything fall into place. And all you other four guys, this is ours. Thank you.
Lou Gossett, of course, winning, and in fact, if I'm correct, he was the first African-American to win an Oscar since Sidney Poitier did. That's why it was so historic. 4 years ago, we were on the red carpet at the American Black Film Festival and talking to a variety of folks, and Lou Gossett came by, and so we had an opportunity to chat with him, and so we're going to show you some of that conversation. And what's interesting, in that same red carpet, I talked for the first time and only time with Lance Reddick, who passed away last year as well. Here is our chat with Lou.
Was a little difficult.
All right.
GMC's here.
Hold up. Let's see it come. All right, so we're going to get this set up right here. Video, here we go. I think we got it going. I think we got it. All right, here we go.
Because,
all right, go ahead.
Because of loss of John Singleton. And so it's always good to see. About to see him right, talk to him now. It's always good to see my man. How you doing? You looking good.
What's that food you eating? Give me some.
Huh? Well, of course, I'm gonna kneel down here. I got this when I just got this when I was in Ghana in December. So I got this outfit here.
Well, I was in Ghana in November. Did you get my message?
I didn't get your message. But when you do call me, when you call me, it's like, I need you to call me. It's important. Clip.
I'm going to talk to you. I got some stuff to talk to you about.
No problem. Hit me anytime.
I have a foundation. It's called E-Racism. And now's the time for it to be in action. After we travel around, we see what the situation and the problems are. I think it'll make sense to you. What this is in its year is the accumulation of all the football, all the fights, all the falling off horses, all the punches over a 60-year career.
Absolutely. Of course,
it's my choice to be like this way.
You've been honored tonight, and it's great to see some of the people who want to come out and show you some love tonight.
I'm amazed. I'm pleasantly amazed, especially these young folks. That's amazing. It's a miracle.
But they've been watching you. We've been watching you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Great pleasure. And you look good, sir.
Well, I'm just trying to do like you. I see you got the relaxed black tux tonight.
Yes, sir. Yeah. It's just I'm uncomfortable.
I understand. That's why I'm real comfortable. And I tell them all the time, see, if you wear an African outfit at a black event, they can't turn you away.
That's right.
See, they can be uncomfortable in tuxedo. We'll be real comfortable.
Very comfortable. Very comfortable.
All right, Doc.
I will see you later.
Always good to see you. You give me a call. We'll chat anytime.
Absolutely.
All right, you take care. All right, folks. Louis Gossett there, and so appreciate it. So we're always.
Well, in 2016, when the remake of Roots was released, we chatted with Louis Gossett Jr. on TV1's News 1 Now.
Very touching right here. Let me quickly get a photo of this.
It's done, and then it would be up in the thing, and then we get on with normal. We had no idea that this was going to be a God shot, and we had no idea it was going to be lightning in a bottle. But we were getting this acceptance now because the society was growing up, if you know what I'm saying. We needed to step on the southern market, put it on from Monday to Friday and get rid of it. But we had our say, and then we'd go back to normal. We did the very best we can because we never knew we'd get another opportunity to do it again.
So all of a sudden, you guys begin to win these awards, Emmys, Golden Globe, Peabody. What was the reaction from the cast with the love you were receiving from across the country?
Totally surprised. But then you back up and you say, it's like Alex Haley's grandmother said, God may not be there when you want him, but he's always there on time. So it was, the Roots was a thing whose time had come. Everything was right. We had no idea that it was going to be so enormously successful, nor did ABC. When it hit, the entire world stopped, including the southern market. And it was still the highest watched television series in the television history because the time had come. So then we started to say, well, maybe this is not just a little special thing. It took a minute for us to realize how important it was as we got our awards and we got our different invitations to different venues. It took over a year for them to not expect it, to put programming. And that's where John Amos came with the Jeffersons and Good Times, etc. And then things have gotten better incrementally every year since then.
How important was the success of the original Roots to launching the careers of so many African Americans in Hollywood?
It opened a lot of doors, but it took a minute for those projects to be prepared, over a year and a half, and then they started spilling out. I wound up doing Sadat, managed to do Lawman Without a Gun, Benny's Place, Satchel Paige. Thank God for television because all those stories needed to be told, but only after Roots was done.
So here we are now focused on the 40th anniversary of Roots. What do you see as the long-term impact of this miniseries on television and Hollywood?
Well, it's had an incredible impact because it's still the most watched television series in television history, including The Moonshot. More people watched this than watched The Moonshot. So Roots is such a historical blockbuster that we're going to do it again. And Mark Roper thought to do it again because his children didn't understand the original Roots. So he's translating, using contemporary famous people to play the same parts. More power to him. But the door is wide open for the rest of our story. The rest of our legacy has to come, and there's an audience waiting to see it. In films, 12 Years a Slave, The Help, etc., there's so much more to tell. And now our filmmakers have the opportunity, because there's so many venues, to tell those stories straight from us to the public. Thank God for Roots first, and we've gone incrementally in that direction ever since, but faster now than before.
Now, of course, Roots is now being remade. It's going to air on the History Channel beginning on Memorial Day. Now, when I talked to you at the Trumpet Awards, you said this.
It's been done. We can't reinvent the wheel. The story's been told. There's so much else. There's a continuum. There's the Harlem Renaissance. There's the cowboys. There's the soldiers. The literary people. W.E.B. Du Bois. There's so much to tell in continuation. So that's a legacy. We should need to continue on if we have that airtime. I know why, because he wants to be like his dad. But I'd like to encourage him to continue on with the legacy. There's so much to tell. It's never going to be over. It's like Yogi Berra said, it ain't over till it's over. We have a lot of stories about us that people need to know about.
So the question I have, why have you changed your mind?
Well, my take was that my initial gut take, and they punished me because I'm not part of the new Roots, but it's okay, that David Wolper did a beautiful job, and so do we. That's been done. Just re-show it to the next children and explain to them what it's about. Mark Wolper made a decision. I have to respect his decision to show his children a Roots that they would understand. Okay, that being done, we still have the rest of our legacy to tell. So if he hasn't done it, we're going to have to. We're going to have to do that. So I can't put that down as much as I used to before, because my gut thing is, why reinvent the wheel? Your father did a brilliant job, and so did us. Why do it again? Obviously, it's his decision. So we will see it, compare the tape. The great Forrest Whitaker's playing fiddler. I got to see him do that. There's Lawrence Fishburne. I got to see all those people do that again. And then now we've got 2. Now we still got to get on with the rest of the story.
So when it comes to Roots, you have, of course, Will Packer as producer, Mario Van Peebles is one of the directors. How important is it to have African Americans who are in front of the camera and behind the camera telling these stories?
Well, it changes the consciousness. So we just talked about this in another interview, wondering when we're going to get another shot and when we're going to get another. When are they going to give us an opportunity? We don't have to wait for them giving us opportunity anymore. There's so many venues and there's some money coming that we finally can tell our own story our own way. We need to level the playing field. And that's what Selma is, and that's what other things are done. So Ava and Will Packer and others. And Denzel now on HBO and Fuqua, Antoine Fuqua. What a combination of people. We don't have to wait for another opportunity. We can create the opportunity now. It's the beginning of that new mentality. It's very exciting to know how much more is going to happen. I'm directing my next movie with Nick Cannon and Lisa Leslie.
And we've had you on TV One before talking to next generation of young actors. What do you say to the likes of Michael B. Jordan, Chadwick Boseman, and all these other young brothers and sisters who are coming up in Hollywood?
Well, my answer is go for it. Go for it. There's no such thing as impossible these days. There's so much. All we have to do is prepare properly, and the opportunity will come. No such thing as impossible. You shoot for a 10, you get a 5. That's 5 more than you had when you started. Go for another 10. Go in that direction, and don't give up.
All right, Lou Gossett, always good to see you, brother. Take care.
Thank you, Roland. Still got my love and respect. God bless.
Folks, Roots, the complete original series, is now available in digital HD for downloads from digital retailers and will be released on Blu-ray on June 7th. Folks, when we talked to Lou Gossett in December 2022, he showed us a video. He was in a car, and the cast of The Color Purple paid tribute to him. And Lou told us folks to send it to us, and I thought he had airdropped it to us. I'm gonna keep looking for it. But it is on, it was on YouTube and was shot from another angle, and Fantasia posted this in her tribute to Lou Gossett today on Instagram.
We wanted to tell you, we just wanted to say thank you so much. We thank you, dear legend. You may not think of yourself this way, but we know you are. We are on your shoulder. Thank you. Appreciate you so much. And all that you gave to us today. We thank you so much.
We thank you for everything that you've done. All of the world and races you run. Ooh, we thank you. From the bottom of our hearts, we want to say thank you.
Man, Lou was so moved by that, and he was just, he just thought it was amazing how they paid their respects to him for that. And so we certainly appreciate him and his work. And normally when we do these memoriams, we normally invite a number of artists and others to reflect on them. But because we had so many interviews and interactions with Lou Gossett Jr., we wanted to actually spend the time and show you those. So we're going to go to a break, and we come back. We're going to have for you that one-on-one interview that I did with Lou Gossett, Roland with Roland interview. I'm so glad he would call me and he would hit me up and he would say, man, we got to sit down and talk. And I was so glad that we finally made that happen in December 2022. And so we'll do that. And so that is it for me. I will see you guys on Monday live from Nashville in our continuation of the tribute to the great Lou Gossett Jr., who passed away at the age of 87. He is now an ancestor. I'll see you on Monday.
This is Attorney Demario Solomon Simmons. I'm a national civil rights attorney. I'm also the founder and executive director of Justice for Greenwood. Many of you guys know I've been leading the fight for the last two living survivors and the Greenwood community overall. We have a historic hearing coming up on April 2nd at 1:30 p.m. in front of the Oklahoma Supreme Court. I need all of you to support us as we try to get justice for this issue for the first time in almost 103 years. Sign up to support us during this hearing on Tuesday, justiceforgreenwood.org/watch party, April 2nd, 1:30 p.m. We need your support, your messages, and your prayers. We appreciate you. Justice for Greenwood.
As bad as Trump was, his economy was worse, and Black America felt it the most. He cut health insurance while giving tax breaks to the wealthy and big business. He stoked racial violence, attacked voting rights, and if reelected, vowed to be a dictator and, quote, get revenge. We can't go back. As president, I put money in pockets, creating millions of new jobs, and capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. There's a lot more to do, but we can do it together. I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
Lou, we've been trying to do this for years.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Finally.
Finally. It's good to see you, sir.
Doc, how you doing?
I'm blessed and highly favored. I'm very lucky, man. I'm here on God's time, you know. You can look at the length of my career. Started at the age of 17 in 1953. I have a photograph of me and my great-grandmama, who's from down here. Mm-hmm. She had to be approximately, in that photograph, 110.
Wow.
So she was a slave, so we don't know, I say approximately, because the Bible didn't get started until after the slaves were freed, and her birth was not recorded in the Bible, and she remembers the Bible being started. So the next time I'll show you these photographs. So now I've been doing this since 1953, and this is what year it is now. I'm on borrowed time. I'm on just the longest career that you can think of.
Now see, it's interesting listening to you. So I just saw Emancipation.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Starring Will Smith.
Yeah.
And it's amazing when we have these conversations with people and they say, slavery was just so long ago. And so for you to say, no, my great-grandmother was a slave.
Yes. And I think it's now to our benefit. Because when you travel, like Glenn is traveling now and others will, we get to see the condition of other countries, other oceans, other cultures. And if we believe in God, and a lot of us do, he's telling us if you don't get rid of that stuff that makes somebody superior or inferior and work together for the mutual salvation, everybody's gone. So I walk around talking to the kids with my foundation, which is that one. Mm-hmm. But as an elder, let's go for what it's worth. I don't get into anybody's face, but the truth is the truth. We are desperately needed at our best for the salvation of mankind.
I want to talk about that. Just obviously, we really want to go in detail about roots. But I did a video after I saw Emancipation, and it absolutely bothers me when I hear people say, "Look, man, I'm sick of these slavery movies. We're more than that. That's pain. That's black trauma." And my deal is, Jewish folks make it perfectly clear.
Of course.
Never forget.
No, never forget.
And I say, I don't care what you say. When I see many of these films, I'm seeing resilience. I'm seeing a fight. I'm seeing never broken.
There's no such thing as impossible.
And so for me, it's not trauma. It's called history.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Now, there's a trick in it, though. And the trick is if you hold on to that resentment, we're the ones that get the cancer. We're the ones that get the high blood pressure. So we need to take it and put it aside as we go ahead for the benefit of us all. We just have one of the oldest cultures that's desperately needed for mutual salvation. That's the consciousness for us to behave as if we have the keys in our roots to save mankind and be a major contribution to our mutual salvation. That puts us where we belong.
I gave a commencement speech to Grambling.
Yes, sir.
And the title of the speech was Never Say Toby.
Tony, yeah.
And so when I gave the commencement speech, and when I worked in newspapers among the black staffers, I would say that. They would be frustrated, they would be upset. And I would say, never say Toby.
Never say Tony.
Never say Toby.
Toby, yeah.
And the white staffers never knew what the hell I was talking about.
Yes, sir.
And the black folks were like, bro, did you say never say Toby? I'm like, yes, never say Toby. And they were shocked that I would say that, but I was trying to get them to understand, don't let them break you.
Yeah, but we're getting to the place where the way we think and feel now is for the benefit of everybody's benefit. There's no enemy. We're together. Otherwise, we're on this 747 airplane, you know, and it's at 30,000 feet, and it's about to crash. The people inside the plane are fighting over who's going to be in first class.
Right.
That doesn't make sense. Now it's time to, sometimes reluctantly, bury the hatchet a little bit and work together for our mutual salvation. And that one act puts us where we belong.
You mentioned consciousness.
Yes, sir.
And I've said for years, Black America needs a massive reprogramming.
Oh, yeah. Deprogramming. Deprogramming and then reprogramming, reminding before Fiddler what we came with. We were told to get rid of that stuff. Now that very same thing that we're told to get rid of is one of the things that's most necessary for our mutual salvation. The love of God, the pride in the earth, the water, and one another, men and women, women and men, children. There's this child the other day, is in the papers, 12 years old. His voice don't go higher than that. He kills a 13-year-old. And got proud of it. Walking down the street, I got him. That's not us. That's not us. It breaks my heart. That's not the boy I remember in front of the Maasai line in Kenya. Or the kid who's from the Ashanti. That's not them. That's not our children.
You've never been shy or afraid of Afrocentric roots. And it's amazing, a lot of our people, man, I'm not from there. And so if you're wearing the clothes and people, man, what are you doing? You're just like, it's a costume. Or it's always interesting when I'm having these conversations with some individuals. And I explain to them all the time, one, if that's your view, you clearly have never used your passport. And two, you've never actually had that experience of stepping foot in the motherland and seeing and feeling and understanding where we actually come from and where civilization comes from.
Well, I believe very much in God. At full circle, tried everything. You know, me and Billy D. Williams, we did all that stuff, you know, in Harlem and dance and all that. Finally comes down full circle. God's still in charge. He's over in the corner with his own shoulder with a laugh and a smile on his face. Well, if he's in charge, we're going to come back to the truth eventually. And there's roles that we played back in Africa before we got slavery. And there's a reason why we controlled the planet. We made a lot of mistakes, but we controlled the planet with that system of whatever age, there's something for you to do with the benefit of the whole tribe. Make the bed, gather the beans, we'll get the eggs, and the women would cook. It would go that way until you become a father and then an elder, which is I've become a griot. As long as that's the first order of business, is to feed back whatever it takes back to the tribe. So everybody listens. If somebody falls out of line, they stick out like a sore thumb. Now they're all sticking out like a sore thumb. So you can see the difference of what we used to do as opposed to what's happening today. It breaks my heart to see a kid whose voice has not even dropped yet. I shot that. Doesn't make sense. That's not us. That's not us. So for what it's worth, until God calls me, I'm so fortunate to be left alive and it's reasonably healthy to open my mouth like here and everywhere else and say it's more for us to do. We go back to the basics. And the ones who are listening are shining and sticking out like wonderful sore thumbs. The athletes, the actors now. I'm so proud to still be around to witness. Even Will Smith. That is one of the finest actors and gentlemen I know. He deserves to get what he's getting. That was an emotional thing. That's something else. But there's so many of them out there. It's great to be sitting here and listen and watching these kids. Taraji Henson. Boy, there's some good ones out there. They're so good, man. I'm glad that they're getting an opportunity to grace a sound stage with them. Where'd they come from? I'm looking young. That's just, I want to put my tobacco back. I'm good. Yeah, look at you. I'm so there's some young brothers and sisters out here. I'm very proud of them.
It's interesting you say that because there were anybody who understands the history of when Roots was being made.
Yes, sir.
Every black person in Hollywood was trying to be in that.
Yeah.
And so many people just believed after the fact, because of the ratings and all the attention, that it would just throw open so many doors for black actors. And it didn't happen.
It was the season of Roots. It was put on because it had to contract with David Wolper and Fred Silverman. As realistic, he was going to lose ratings for 7 days. And then we'd be finished, go back to normal. And the whole thing flipped around. My best friend in Roots was Vic Morrow. We grew up together. We played ball together. A great athlete. And I came on the set as fiddler. And I had just met LeVar. We hung out and we fell in love. That was my father and son, big brother. And Vic said, hey, Louis, New York guy, said, I want to apologize in advance. I said, why? He said, well, you'll see. So I'm standing there as fiddler. I'm looking at LeVar Burton and Kunta Kinte at the same time. Looking at my friend Vic Morrow, asking Kunta Kinte to say, Toby. And I got mixed emotions because he apologized. He knew what was going to happen.
Right.
So finally, when LeVar finally said, Kunta Kinte said, my name is Toby, it broke my heart. So now he's cut down, and that's the end of the scene. But I kept on going, and they kept the camera going. So I said to him, I said, wiped his hands. I said, what do you care what that man wants you to say? Kunta Kinte, that's your name. That's who you'll always be. And I looked up at Vic, and I said, there's going to be another day. You hear me? There's going to be a better day. And kind of Vic said in his acting things just like that. There's the double truth in our counterparts. And that's what I pray for on a daily basis. That those men, those Vic Morrows, those James Garners, God rest his soul, those guys, those Marlon Brandos, we're going to put those people together, men and women of all ages, to save this planet from one another. University of Georgia is like that now. It's getting there, after traveling around the world. I don't know if you can notice this. People want to fight, and it's also so good for with the picket signs. But if they win that with the picket signs, that's only half of their success.
So it's interesting as you talked about that season of Roots.
Yes, sir.
And I've had so many conversations, again, with Richard Lawson and Lynn Turman and Bill Duke, Jack Gay and others. And the reason why I think the stories are important and why we have to hear them, so people understand that when they turn that television on today, when they go to the big screen and they see these movies and shows, understand it was a long battle, struggle, fight to get that, to get to even just where we are today.
Right. Well, we've got other options now. We can just open our mouth and we're on screen. You know, I'm flirting with the story of Mary McLeod Bethune.
Mm-hmm.
So I heard about Mary McLeod Bethune's friendship with Eleanor Roosevelt.
Mm-hmm.
And became real tight real quick because her husband was dying of alcoholism. So she came up one day to the White House, and he was in the wheelchair and with a blanket. And she grabbed the blanket, pulled the bottle, and he went like this, and she said, it's a true story. I'm going to give this back to you, but here's first what I want you to do first. I want you to integrate the armed forces because we're losing the war. And FDR said, no, they're not capable. He said, I don't care what you say. Call Ike. So he calls Ike and says, I want you to integrate the army. He said, those people are not prepared. I don't care. We're going to integrate the war. Tuskegee Airmen, 135th Regiment Armory, Harlem, and 5 others. And so we're going to put them on the world's biggest bigots in the United States Army. It was Patton. So give them the Patton business. I'll take care of that. Leave them to me. North Africa, El Qaim. They get their reputation as chess masters. He was a chess master. He was about to annihilate the British in El Qaim in North Africa. There's one last spot for him to go before he says, charge. A young Tuskegee Airman looked out the window and said, wait a minute, that's the such and such maneuver. Called the tank battalion and said, go to that place and don't give it up. As a result of them not giving it up, they beat Field Marshal Rommel, sent him up through Italy, back to Berlin, calling the people Schwarzes. Where did it get started? The friendship of Mary McLeod Bethune and Eleanor Roosevelt. So when FDR died, Eleanor Roosevelt was responsible for the United Nations, Ralph Bunche, A. Philip Randolph, Walter White, and others. She was in the middle of all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Mary McLeod Bethune. That's the story that we have to tell.
Right.
And there's so many like it. Because there was supposed to be dangerous if we knew. It's essential that we all know now.
Right. I mean, to me, it's dangerous if we don't know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely. More people need to know about you. I've known you many years. Yes, I remember you and Al, and you're necessary.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
One of the things that I love to see, you were mentioning Will and Taraji and this whole new crowd.
Yeah, I just finished working with Taraji. Yeah.
I love to see them give appreciation in your presence.
Well, I have something to show you, but I can't show you. I'll show it to you today. Oh, thank you from Taraji.
See, the reason I think that's important, because I think about my grandmother. So my grandmother, my grandparents lived 8 blocks from us. So and so basically nearly my whole family went to the same Catholic church. It was found in my grandparents' living room. And the thing is, when you walked into my grandparents' house,
mm-hmm.
you greeted them first.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And it didn't even matter if there were other aunts. I remember I kissed my Aunt Helen first. And my Aunt Helen...
You had an Aunt Helen too?
No, my Aunt Helen was my grandfather's sister.
Wow.
They lived like 3 doors down from my grandparents. My grandmother got an attitude No, was hot.
Yes, sir.
That
yeah.
I dared greet Aunt Helen before her.
Yes, sir.
I'm like, well, I ran to her first. No, she ain't like that. And so, to me, it's always important when we are in the presence of those who came before us, paved the way, that we
get that honor.
And every time, and not just I saw
before the president.
I mean, that's important.
After you got that right.
That's vital to me. When that happens. That if you're sitting over here, folk you walk across that room, and you say thank you or good to see you.
You got that right, sir. You got that right. That's what we have to spread around the world. Those people should be honored. Because first of all, they have knowledge. We have milked the knowledge from them.
There you go.
They have something to for what it's worth. I'm trying to do your job now. I'm trying a little podcast called For What It's Worth. And then not a hammer. Just knock on the door and say blah, 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 and go on about my business. That's what we do when we get this age. My great-grandmama, she, I don't know how old she was when she passed away, but she had one thing that I remember. It was railroad mill snuff. She lived down here in Georgia. So she had her two friends were the deaconesses of the church, First Baptist Church. So she said, I don't know, I'll keep talking about, we're getting there. I'm at least 10 years older than both of you. You know that? And thank God. Who is it? Somebody answered the door. But she had the thing that God was here before you got here. He was here while you're here. He's going to be here long after you're gone. So you better calm down and let him run things. That's her. That's her. We all have somebody in our lives, like you said. Listen to him. Listen to him.
In your field,
yes, sir.
Who were those pillars for you that when you were in their presence, you just wanted to listen to them and just ask them questions and just?
Well, I was adopted. I was 17 years old on Broadway in 1953. Not supposed to be possible. Straight in high school. So the people that used to come and bring me sandwiches was Adam Clayton Powell and Hazel Scott. Paul Robeson, when he was in town, he was so happy to see this young kid in show business. He went to tears. He would laugh. And he'd shake your hand, and his fingers were by my elbow. He was a big, wonderful, big boy. That's what he was. Yeah. And there was Hazel Scott, who was in the play with me, Take a Giant Step. Frederick O'Neill, the first black president of Actors Equity. Estelle Hemsley. I had the Max Glanville. There was some very nice people. Used to come and bring me my sandwiches, my barbecue from Harlem. And so that was, oh my goodness. Wilt. I was hanging out with Wilt a lot. I was the kid on the block. I was so spoiled, man. I was so spoiled. So my great-grandma came up one day, and she says, oh, Grandma, you made it. And she slapped me. And then there's a room full of famous people, right?
Right.
I said, well, you slapped me. She slapped me again. She says, I taught you how to be respectful for your grandma, and I didn't see that up there. I said, no, that's a play. That's a play. She said, I don't care. And I'm going to come back next week, make sure you don't say it again, right?
Wow.
Now Paul Robeson's on the floor in stitches.
You're like, I'm acting.
And so somebody else is like, I don't care. I don't care. Yeah. So there's a lot of little stories like that.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So
you're like, why did you slap me?
Yeah, culture clash. Paul Robeson was like a kid. If he saw something like that, he'd be in tears. He'd laugh so hard. Great man.
I think out of all...
Josephine Baker, another one.
Out of all of the figures, when I think about activists and even entertainment, fundamentally, Robeson is, I think, the top of the list of completely underrated.
Oh, my God.
And not fully, I mean... For one, just the athletic feats.
Right. Him and Jack Johnson alone.
Being a lawyer and I mean, but when we just think about central figures of the 20th century, I hate that more people really don't understand.
He still has yet to be really honored.
Yeah.
You have to be really honest. But there's a man, Kofi. I'll send him to you if you like, and you'll see Paul Robeson in front of you. You're very honest. He does a one-man show, and you should probably meet that young man.
Absolutely.
But it's nice to be this age. Very grateful to be unscathed, broken legs and stuff, you know, and all my had sports injuries, but I've been given the opportunity by God, whom I call God, to be in Israel and Africa and Japan and Australia and Egypt and South America and Central America and Mexico, Canada, in 80 years. There's no career out there that long. I have nothing to complain about. I wake up the next morning, you got me another one? Thank you, God. Thank you, it's good to see you. I've been in that place where I was concerned, and it gets you angry, and then finally you take a deep breath, oh, wait a minute. You can't do nothing about it except speak your mind and get on with the day. But it's a good time to be alive.
When you, how do you, let me phrase it this way. What still excites you about either the stage, the small screen, or the big screen? What still makes you just, let's go?
New talent. My favorite actress is Taraji Henson. And another one is the girl that played my daughter in The Watchmen. I can't remember right now what her name is. King. And there's some...
Regina King.
Regina and others. Writers, the director from let's call it Purple. Fantasia. There's some people out there that's very exciting. And it's in all walks of life. Athletes, amazing. That kid from New Orleans, he's amazing.
So when you're doing with these projects, so for you, it's being able to share space with this new generation.
I'm blessed, and there's a mutual. We don't have that kind of time, but I show you on my cell phone all the thanks and congratulations. The mutual family over the last couple of years that I've been fortunate to be around. The respect is there. They like it when we contribute some knowledge to them. They're out there saying, "What's next?" They're brilliant, but it's the old days when we created the original gangbanger and the original gangster. Mom was on the phone too long. The kid was in a high chair with the food, and the food went on the floor. So he came out in the street and said, "Pay attention, Papa." They're really doing it now. But most of them are still here, that they're salvageable. And they'll take their cell phones, eventually, and put it in their back pocket and listen. That's a blessing. And I'm very proud to have a semblance of a relationship with those young people.
Harry Belafonte.
I love that man.
As well.
Yeah.
As well. Mr. B.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely amazing. When he had convened a meeting of the elders.
Yes, sir.
And it was here in Atlanta.
Yes, sir.
And he talked about this in his documentary. He says that as he was sitting there listening to all the elders, he said it hit him, I don't need to be in this room. And that's when he then purposely went out and began to go find young people and to engage them and talk to them.
Yes, sir.
Because he said the solutions for the future are not going to be solved in the room with elders. He says we got to be able to be interacting with young.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There's so many stories to tell you. We need a lot of time to do that. My lifetime friend with Floyd Patterson, he was the El Diablos, Bedford Stop. Stingy brim hats, satin jackets. And I had my cousins, the El somethings, El Cuentos. And I came and went so far to the wrong neighborhood. And the gang had me up against the wall. And somebody said, "Get out of the way." The man took a zip gun, about this big, with a big fat rubber band and put it in between my eyes like this. We looked eye to eye. They pulled the trigger, and the rubber band broke. Now, the Guinness Book of Records does not have the fastest 10 blocks in history. I still hold that record. You know who that man was?
Who?
Floyd Patterson.
Wow.
Before he went to the Whitworth School. And we became close.
Y'all became close after that?
Yes. I told him he remembers me and I remember him.
Man.
Yeah, that's a story, yeah.
Yeah, that is a story.
Yeah, he almost killed me, but the rubber band broke. That's divine intervention.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we used to run the Greenwood Lake before the championships. Quite a man.
Now, how did y'all go from that to friends?
Because we looked at each other and said, I remember you. He said, yeah, you remember me. I remember you. Why would you remember me? And I told him. He said, yeah, that was me. Him and his brother ran the El Diablos. His brother died in Sing Sing. And he went to Whitworth School for Boys.
And you like, thank God that rubber band broke.
Yes, sir. Thick red rubber bands, the thing said, and my butt said, I'm Brooklyn. I come from there, from that whole area. It's amazing. The life is really nice. I'm very grateful.
When you think about moments like that, and it happens to a lot of people, and it's always interesting to me when folks say, well, it just happened. I'm like, no. That was
a message.
God knows what you were destined for.
Yes, sir.
And what's sad to me is when I see, especially when I see a story of another young brother, young rapper, shot and killed, the brothers at Roscoe's Chicken and Waffle House.
Yeah.
Take off, cats are sitting here playing a dice game. And when it happens, for me, what comes up is, or even, the DJ Twitch takes his life at 40. I always think about what the world misses when these lives are taken so young. And so when I hear that story, I mean, all the things that happen after that
would
have never transpired.
You pray on it very hard. And I think they're messages. God is giving us messages hard and soft. So sometimes we need to hear a hard message to get our attention and blink our eyes, to do something about it on a daily basis. And I'm very grateful to still be alive, to open my mouth, to do that. Every now and then I can't get up in the morning. I'm 86, but as soon as I can, I'm up. I've got some nice people working with me and for me to help me do that.
So you said open your mouth, and the thing that I say this all the time to journalists or even media personalities. I tell them, you need to respect this microphone.
Yes, sir.
And I said, what I mean by respect it, you need to understand the power of it, how literally what you say could alter someone's thinking, could change their mind, could change the direction of their lives. When I ran Tom Joyner's site, blackamericaweb.com, I was the founding editor, and we didn't have a praise and worship channel. And I said, well, you can't have a black website and you have a praise and worship channel. So I created it. And I wrote a column one day, and I literally cannot remember what it was. And a woman sent me an email. And she said, I listen to Tom's show, and I hear this every day. She said, I listen to his show, and I keep hearing him talk about this website every day.
Gotcha.
And she said, and I never went to the website. But today, I decided to go to the website. And she said, and then I went to this channel, and then I saw what you wrote, and I read what you wrote. She said, I want you to understand something. She said, I had already planned my suicide. She said, I had already I'd already planned it. I knew when. I knew how. And I was simply waiting for that day. She said, yet I read what you wrote, and now I understand that there's a purpose for my life. Now, when I told that story, somebody was like, oh my God, that's amazing. I said, no. I said, let me flip it. I said, what you need to understand is, if God told me to write it and I never wrote it,
that's a
she
sin.
would have never read it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I said, so the piece for us is when we have to say something to somebody, I said, say it because you do not know who is being sent to hear.
Absolutely. I find here in Georgia, what I say to you sometimes doesn't fall right on black or white ears.
Right.
Because they want things to stay as they are and slowly grow. But if they want to stop me by killing me or shutting me down, they're shutting down somebody who's going to save their life tomorrow. This doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. That old, I'm better than you are, doesn't make sense.
I'm Faraji Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
The media is the second most powerful medium in the world. You see a coup anywhere in the world, is the guns, is the military first, media is always second.
Yes, sir.
So what you do, what I do is so powerful because we literally, what we do goes around the world.
Absolutely. Now, especially now.
And people are forming opinions and perspectives based upon what they see. So that movie, that radio project, that broadcast, I mean, we literally could change minds.
That's what happened.
And that's why I say, folks, don't take lightly that power that you have.
Yes, and some of it's new. Some of it's new. They had the one television. You must have been a teenager when television was in New York City. The Goodwill and East Side, West Side. And that's where Cicely and all those people came from. So I did a thing called The Nurses. And I played a juvenile delinquent. They just shot in the stomach. And at the end, I'm running from the cops, and the stitches break. And I die. They put it away. I get my first job in Kenya and Tanzania. So I get off the plane, and so I get out, and I get in the car and go to the Hilton. By the time I get to the Hilton, traffic is stopped. This young man says, "Could you do me a favor?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Open your shirt." So I went up the shirt. Yeah, how did you do that, sir? How did I do what? How did you come back to life? That's early television.
Wow.
That's the story. We had Jomo Kenyatta as president. His wife did the same. How did you do that? They didn't know about acting. They know now.
So like your great-grandmother?
Yeah. Yeah. So there's some stories that does in my book.
But that's the power, and that's why, you know, it's like, no, understand that even if it's a movie and it's fiction, the words that you speak, the role that you play, someone is watching.
Yes, there is. That's new for me.
And someone is paying attention. Yeah. And literally one scene could just completely alter someone's view.
Yeah. I've been told across the South, it's supposed to be dangerous down here. I mean, some of the guys, some of the cops, they said, you helped raise me an officer, gentleman. I had a sergeant just like you. And he's the one that saves my life. He just comes to my house sometimes, and under other circumstances, he'd be on the other side of the street. Maybe his father was, but not me and him.
When you, speaking of that, when you were doing that movie, were you thinking about and understanding the racial implications of this hardcore, stern, black officer?
The officer gentleman?
Yeah. And how folk would react to it?
Well, no, because the officer gentleman, I was getting a part. There's a break for me. They fired a white actor and paid him off because somebody had done some research and saying 90% of the DIs teaching the naval officers to be pilots are black.
So initially, that was a white actor.
Initially, it was a white. I can't remember his name, but I think I can remember. And it was a tribute to Richard Gere. He was Mr. Goodbar. He was the new movie star. So he was ready to do that and be the lead and beat up the Marine and win the girl and all that stuff. And the Marine showed up with me after 6 weeks of rehearsal. I was a DI when I showed up. It was my shot, you know. The DI said, no, that's not what we do. So slowly as we did it on a daily basis, the Marines let them say what's real. How do you make a man out of a man? I don't care what color you are, what religion, you got to listen to these rules. I'm your DI.
Now, for you,
yes,
what was it like to transform into that?
Oh, it was, in a way, it was a secret pleasure because I never got a chance to do it in the streets of Los Angeles. And I got legally the ability to tell the movie star to get down and give me 50. I want your DOR. So that whatever was in my system, I was able to legally do it for Taylor Hackford.
So sort of like when Jamie Foxx played in Django Unchained.
Yes, sir.
So for you, it was like, okay, all of this that black folk been carrying.
The director said, let him have it.
I'm about to take it out on Richard Gere.
Oh, my God, yes.
Did he understand that?
Great professional actor because he went for it. That's why it's such a good movie.
So you took all of that, our history and subjugation and having to bow down and...
They should have the Oscar, the Marines. They would not let us lie about them in that movie. They tried to fight for a week that Richard would win the fight.
No. And they said, that don't happen in real life?
No. That should be their Oscar. Because they pushed me right through, representing them. So I said, we just had a birthday a couple months ago, the Marine's birthday. I'm a Marine.
Do Marines still come up to you?
Yes, sir. And every foreign country has got an embassy, and it's manned by the Marines. So I'm an honorary Marine, and I represent the Montfort Point Marines.
Uh-huh.
You know, so it's very good feeling, very secure feeling. Very secure.
So many actors want that Academy Award.
Mm-hmm.
Did it mean that much to you? Or was it validation? Or for you, did you say, I don't need the award to validate me?
Well, I needed validation. Even today, I sink into that low self-esteem. I'm old now, you know, I forget my lines and stuff. And I see, in my mind, I see them with the scissor. That's it. That's me.
Right.
But I'm just very grateful. I'm still there. I did not as good a job as I thought I would do on The Color Purple. I played that and others. I forgot my lines. But it's there. It's still there. I was born with it.
Whenever I ask musicians or actors this question, typically it's something that we wouldn't associate as their favorite. Some people hate when I have to ask this. When I ask this question, like, oh, it's like picking your favorite child. So I'll ask it this way: what role have you relished the most? You just even thinking about it now, it makes you just feel great when you think about that role?
Enemy Mine. 5.5 hours of makeup. Looked like a lizard. Come from another planet. The most difficult job I've ever had to do. Storyline, those enemies become friends, lifetime friends, and he has a baby. And the philosophy of the story between Dennis Quaid's character and my character became two lifetime brothers. And I had 6 months in Germany. That's amazing stuff. Everybody turned it down because it's so hard. You know, Dennis Dustin Hoffman wants to play it, but it's too hard. I said, yeah, hand it here. I went down to Munich and ate the food, the sauerbraten, and got a lot of sleep and got in good shape. And the philosophy of that movie, if you see it, Geliebte Feind, I'll never forget it.
We were chatting before the cameras rolling, and we talking about Glenn Turman.
Oh, yeah.
And
my baby brother.
The folks, just the cast and the Raisin in the Sun. When you think back and reflect on Sir Sidney.
Oh, yes, sir.
What comes to mind?
Love, respect, honor, role model, best friend, benevolent, brilliant, smooth, him and Harry. And I fought him and Harry and Sammy for a while. Another man by the name of Leon Bibb, Roscoe Lee Brown. I followed them around faithfully because they had something to offer. Maya, Cicely was my leading lady. She was a lot of leading ladies. And an actress by the name of Beverly Todd. That society. She's still around. The one's still around. Something was very rich about those people, and I stuck with them as much as possible.
The thing to me with Portier, just the word presence. It was just always just interesting. And the few times I was in the room, just to watch how others would approach him.
Yeah.
I mean, it really was
royalty.
That's exactly what it was. It's exactly what it was.
And he did it for himself. It's up on Rouge, listening to radio and television, learning how to get rid of that accent, and he did it for himself. He did it, and it's to be respected. I miss him terribly. But right behind him was me, following along with him. It was hard for me not to act like him. He was so good.
Really?
He was that good. Yeah. Another one that I talk about that not enough people talk about is Woody Strode. Remember Woody Strode at all? Remember a film called Sergeant Rutledge?
Woody Strode.
Woody Strode, S-T-R-O-D-E. You come to my house, I show you a picture painting of me and him in a picture I did called Gathering of Old Men. Ernest Gaines did it. The first thing he did was Jane Pittman in Sicily. Second one was Gathering of Old Men. Now, Woody Strode went to UCLA, All-American. He was all-star football player, track star, and he was nominated for an Academy Award in a thing called Sergeant Rutledge. And then he was sent to Italy, where he could do some work. So he did Demetrius and the Gladiators with Kirk Douglas. And he stayed there and did a lot of movies. So look him up. He was my hero. Woody Strode. Yeah, there's some great ones out there, man. Some of them still alive. Great ones.
When you were talking about Glenn Turman and y'all's relationship.
Yeah.
The thing that when I last talked to him is that I still crack up that Glenn. I was like Glenn, are you from Harlem? And you swear he a Southern cowboy. You know, and so I get a kick out of that. And he said that his greatest dream. I said, what's that one thing you want to do? And he said, a real, true Black Western.
Ooh.
So I ask you, is there something that you have always wanted to do, that you have yet to do, and what is that?
It's a loaded question. The character that I always wanted to play has been played. I don't think it was good enough, but it's still there. The Bass Reeves stories. Bass Reeves was the most successful marshal in the history of the West.
Mm-hmm.
And always got his man except for one. I've got a photograph of him in my office. There's some other stories. I'm working on a man by the name of Colonel Hubert, the Black Eagle Julian. You know that name at all?
Mm-mm.
Well, you know...
Colonel Hubert?
Hubert Fauntleroy Julian is the Black Eagle.
Mm.
So now he was the Black Star shipping lines.
Right.
So how Marcus Garvey got his black people out of Harlem to go to Jamaica first before they went to Liberia.
Mm-hmm.
They used the Black Star lines. That was owned by Colonel Julian.
Mm-hmm.
Colonel Julian had a little biplane, and the Red Baron called him a Stratzer, and he challenged the man in the middle of the English Channel and sent him home. And so he was one of those people. They've taken him out of the history books of Marcus Garvey. If it wasn't for him, Marcus Garvey couldn't have gotten to Liberia.
Mm.
It was his stuff. He supplied all the weapons.
Because most people, when they if they do, first of all, if anybody talks about Marcus Garvey,
yes,
even if they talk about that and they mention the Black Star Cruise Line,
yes, that's Colonel Julian.
Like literally,
yeah,
that name never comes up.
They take it out. I want to put it back. He's a very special Jamaican, both of them Jamaican.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff.
So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. As somebody who loves history.
You too, yeah.
It's, all of those stories are so important.
Yes, sir.
Just to understand how things happened and how the intersection and how things were connected. Mm-hmm. And I've given speeches and I mentioned someone's name. People are like, oh my God, I never heard that.
Yeah.
And it shows you how so much of our history is just completely untold. There are just troves of names and stories that are worth telling.
Oh, yeah.
Whether documentaries, whether movies, or whatever.
There's these families called the Jackson family, I think, outside of Tulsa, when they bombed Tulsa.
That's right.
They were missed because they were not in Tulsa, just on the outskirts.
They weren't in Greenwood.
They were in Greenwood,
wow.
Right outside. And they still have the property. I'm trying to get that done. So I don't want to ask anybody else. I want to ask us. We have to have this network so that these young people know how prolific the history is, good and bad.
Well, that's why. So just so you know, I was working with some folks, and we hired these marketers to come up with a name for my network, and I expressly told them, don't come back to me with an African name. Here's why. I said, I don't want to have to explain the name of the network while I'm trying to explain to you what the network is.
Yes, I hear you.
That's why I did that.
That's a distraction.
So it wasn't like, okay, I'm just, okay, I don't want an African name. I said, I got finite time to explain the network. I can't try to explain the name and then explain the network.
Yeah.
So they came back with these names. I'm like, I told you I don't do this. And so one of my guys, he's like, look, baby, we got to choose a name. Now I just come back from Ghana from the year of return, and I took a photo above the Black Star Gate, and I was sitting there, and it just, again, I had spent probably 10 grand with his marketing group, and came up with a name literally that quick. And the reason my OTT network is called Black Star Network.
Gotcha.
And the reason because, so why did Garvey want to do that? Because he wanted to connect the African diaspora.
Yes, sir.
And so my whole deal was, it's the same thing with the network. And what I tell people is literally what you just said. Because people come in after TV One who are like, oh man, I wish you go back to CNN. I wish you had a show on MSNBC. And I said, I'm not interested in asking someone else for permission to tell our story.
I agree. And it's not revolutionary.
No.
It's necessary.
I said, I want to be able to say yes, no. Yeah. And being able to own the cameras and being able to say, no, we're going to go here. Right. So, yeah, we're going to go to Liberia for 2 weeks. We're going to go here.
That's exciting.
We're going to go. We spent 6 days in Tulsa covering the 100th anniversary of the race massacre. And to me, that's really it. It's having the freedom to not ask somebody else for permission.
For permission.
Because we got so many stories.
Oh, so many stories. So many stories. So many. We can talk for hours on those stories. I've done research on all my career. That's close to 70 years. All of them were turned out except here recently. But now's the time. Because it's got universities, it's got audiences.
Yeah.
It's programs like this to talk
and the key is the gatekeepers no longer control access.
You know, it's a different ballgame.
And that's why I love to see Nollywood. I love to see what's happening in Nigeria.
Yeah, Nollywood was tough last time. Yeah.
You know, I just love to see how African nations and how folks in the Caribbean, how young filmmakers in the United States who are taking this phone and creating,
art,
full scale movies, and that's the thing that I tell people, young and old. People come up to me and they say, "Oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, but I can't afford all of this." And I say, "Listen."
That's gotten so sophisticated.
I said, this right here. I said, start here. I said, do not let the inability to purchase all of this keep you from telling the story.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I've enjoyed this, by the way. Thank you.
Well, we've been waiting for a long time to do it.
Yeah, but we've gone through changes also.
Oh, absolutely.
Now is the time.
Absolutely.
Now's the time.
Your book.
Yes, sir.
You call it An Actor and a Gentleman. I always ask anyone who writes a book this, even when they wrote it. Was there a wow moment? So even when you were writing and researching and remembering, what was that moment where you went, wow?
Oh, yeah. I can count them, but the biggest, if you have time.
Yeah.
I wouldn't work in...
We got time. I own it.
Okay, got it. I wouldn't go to South Africa until Mandela was going to come out of prison.
Right.
I've been invited. I did A Good Man in Africa, But the first movie produced independently after Mandela was coming out of prison was a thing called The Reason. And it's kind of a throwback of the Truth Commission. So I moved to South Africa, and I'm having good hot and cold places, people watching over corners and stuff, but I'm looking around. I learned to meet the Mandelas and the godfather of the ANC, the Tambo family. And in the Tambo family was the heir apparent after Mandela would retire. It was H-A-N-I, Hani. I was dating his niece, an albino. I'd still be there. She'd have me by the throat. She was so oh God, I moved in. I was moving in.
She took your heart, huh?
Oh gosh, the whole culture. So now, Chris Hani was, and then they celebrated his success at this football stadium. There was a man behind him saying, "Stop firing!" They were shooting guns. His name was Chris Hani. He was in the government. One morning, a white woman and a man shot Chris Hani in the chest 7 times. So when you do that, and here in Georgia, you go to this flower man, and you bring the flowers to the mom, to the wife. That's all I was thinking about. My driver, he's a former football player with Jerry Curl, and we got on the freeway, went to the Hani household, and when we look up, we're surrounded. On the left is all the white guys with their tanks, and on the right side is all the young blacks with their little swords and stuff. We can't back up, can't go forward. The heart going boom, da boom. That's it.
You're like, what did I walk into?
What did I walk into, right? So I took a deep breath, got the flowers out, and started walking toward the house. And they got out the way. Heart's going boom. That's all I could hear was boom, da boom, boom. And things on the radio, walkie-talkie. So finally I got there knocking on the door to my friend Dolly Tombo. You know that name, Dolly Tombo? He, that's for that family. He opened up, grabbed me, and said, "Get in here." I said, "What happened?" He said, "You're crazy. You just walked into the mouth of the devil. They're going to, you may not live." I mean, he was very upset. So while I'm here, can I give this flowers to the missus? And I took her, she looked at me like I was nuts. 3 or 4 hours later, Oliver Tambo, the godfather of the ANC, Adelaide, his wife, she said, "I think I'm going to try and see if I can get you back to the hotel." So she goes out and she speaks, 3 hours. And she cried, spoke in 3 or 4 different languages. She was on the ground, whatever she was saying. And she came back exhausted, soaking wet. She says, "I think maybe you can try it now." So my man, Jerry Curl's gone.
The football player, Jerry Curl,
he's gone. He's gone. So now we get in the car and we're followed all the way halfway to this Stanton Sun, name of the hotel. And we got there. I can take a deep breath. That's a wow.
Yeah.
That's a wow. Coming back to do a Good Man in Africa, the white people, I'm the first ones off the plane. I said, they haven't forgotten. So he grabs me and tells me that he was one of the soldiers. His name was Hilgar, I think his name was, from New Zealand. And he took me off the plane first. And after that, he said, "I want to tell you a story." He was in one of those tanks. And his commander said, "Put that man in your crosshairs." So that's one of the stuff I heard from the walkie-talkie. And all of a sudden I came close and they said, "Oh, no, wait a minute. That's Louis Gossett Jr., a white Dutch man." So the life was saved because of the movies.
Wow.
Otherwise I'd be dead.
And that's 2 times.
There's more than that. More than that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a wow.
Yeah. A white Dutchman gets the order, put that black man in your crosshairs.
In your crosshairs.
And he does. It
was assigned when I came back as my bodyguard.
That's Louis Gossett Jr.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He became my bodyguard.
Thank God for the big screen.
Tell me something. There you go. There you go.
That is that's a wild moment.
Yeah.
I want to go back. The
only thing I would regret was that Zulu girl.
See, that's what I was going back because it was. What is it? When you said it, I was like, you know what? Let me hear what he thinks on this. What is it about a woman that captivates a man?
I don't want to figure it out. I just want to be happy it's there.
I mean, just yeah. I mean, the idea of you wake up thinking about them. Mm-hmm. You think about them all day.
Yeah.
You go to sleep. You want to see their face. it's just a fascinating.
It's old. It's old as people. Because back in Africa, there's no husbands and wives, there's tribes. And a job to do for the benefit of the whole. So it's a free feeling. Yeah.
See, I was having a conversation the other day with a friend of mine, and we were talking about this, and he said there's a difference between loving someone, being in love with someone, and desiring someone.
Yeah. Sometimes
I think what you,
sometimes all three come together.
I think what sounds like what you describing, that Zulu woman, all three converged.
Yeah, almost 2.5.
2.5.
2.5. So she's now married to somebody else with a silver mine. So she's all right. She's doing it. Bridget Motsepe.
But she just...
She took me right off the ground. That was it. You know. Bad mistake. I should have stayed there and fought for her.
I mean, you had the Dutch bodyguard.
I have no complaints, though, man. Everything's okay. It's okay. I'm an old man now. I can reflect and be very grateful. Very grateful. We have some contemporaries out there, the Dions, and I'm okay. I'm okay. Everything's okay.
Was it hard? Other artists have said this to me, that it is very difficult for people who they love, will be their family or a partner, to understand that their craft is actually their most important love.
Well, it's a tough one. That's not racial at all.
Has that been the case for you, where your craft is that's your first marriage, your first love? Once you start getting successful in it and you study the things that you have to go through in order to loosen your instrument, to play those parts, to get hired again, and be successful globally, first locally and then globally. It's your first marriage. So how do you deal with that? How do you deal with?
You pray that who you're with understands. You take them with you. Sometimes when they like the lights and stuff, you know.
But how do you also even deal with it when? And again, I'm converging these two forces. When you're with someone, you have a partner, you're married to someone, and then you have this love, and then you encounter someone else.
Oh, it's a tough one. It happens, yeah.
Who takes your breath away.
Yeah.
Because and that's the thing that I think a lot, again, when that thing is what you love, and it's not that, it's not, to me, it's not even that you crave the attention.
No.
But it's just that when you know that this is what I was put here for, it's hard for, someone has to understand that look, this is my thing.
That's not racial at all. It's not racial at all. It's a dynamic. It's tough. Male, female, female, male. Female, female. Male, male.
And there were many times that you had to pick? When you had to make clear?
Yeah, you have to be clear. Honor your reason why you're traveling, what you have to do in front of your audience. So it's more than doing the movie. You have to push it. You have to be present. You have to be charming. And every now and then God steps in there with his little devilish arrow. And that's what happens. That's what happens with some of them, you know. That's what happened probably with one of the greatest athletes, O.J. and the man with the bad leg, Hollywood, Dion. Those are my heroes, you know. Walt Frazier. Some great ones out there.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
when we have these discussions with people, it's always, when I think about greatness, and I would love to know if you ever had one of these conversations. So I'm at the Jeffrey Osborne golf tournament, and it gets rained out. Massive storm comes through. So we're sitting at the table, and sitting around talking, and so I'm sitting here, and Ahmad Rashad is sitting here, and Eddie Levert is sitting here, and Barry Bonds is sitting here, and Sugar Ray Leonard is sitting right here. And we're having this discussion about greatness. Because I brought up something Eddie's singing, and I brought up, and he was talking about, man, you the smartest guy on television. And so he's asking me questions, and then we're talking, Ahmad is talking about what it requires to be a great wide receiver, and Barry is talking about what it means to be a great baseball player. Then Sugar Ray Leonard is talking about what it means to be a great boxer, and he says something, he says, man, you've been a great boxer. I was like, are you out your mind? He said, no. He said, last night we were on stage, and I saw you dancing. He said, all I could do is look at your feet. He said, he was like, it's your footwork. Yeah. And I was like, what are you talking about? He said, no, your footwork. He said, I thought you were all that twisted turn. Are you going to fall down? I said, first of all, to be a boxer, you got to take a punch. I ain't letting nobody hit me. I said, footwork is great. But it was just this fascinating discussion we had. Oh, my God, I wish a camera was rolling. And it was just a whole discussion about greatness. Have you had those conversations with peers or people you respect where you wanted to just, no, I need to know, what does it require to be great, to become a legend, become an icon? And
I haven't the slightest idea. It's good fortune. Blessed by God. You look at it, you reflect on it, and it's almost like bingo. You prepare for it, the best you can do to prepare for it, and each day you get better and better.
Never wanted to quit? Did you ever?
Quite a few times, yeah. We're not getting
How close did you come?
I wanted to, there was a time when I had to choose between basketball and sports early on, baseball and sports, and then I got work. And every time I would threaten to quit, I got a job. So I was making somebody else some money, so I didn't want that to happen, I guess. But I've gotten the good fortune of bringing my children, who are still upset, but they came with me through 9 and 10 different universities and countries. It's a tough one.
You say still upset?
They're still upset they don't have a check. And I think father and son or father and daughter is much more quality than that. It's the hands-on relationship, the way it would be back in the days of the tribes.
Any regrets?
No. I'd question God if I did that. Yeah, this is one great big sandwich. You know, there's some things, if you do that, then you can't live today.
One role that I do, and I have a DVD, Satchel Paige.
Oh boy, that was fun. That was fun in Mississippi. Yeah. He was there when we started.
Really?
Yeah. He was there.
Wow.
He traveled in a suitcase, 2 suitcases. His dishes, all stuff is in 2 suitcases. Beverly Todd was my wife.
Again, Paige, another one of those, people talk about Jackie Robinson, they talk about, but Paige was just unbelievable.
Oh, yeah. He was, he should have been the first black, but he was 60 years old at the time. Great athlete, though. Smart. Josh Gibson. The second baseman. Wee Willie from the Black Leagues. The Hall of Fame. He just died last year. Great performances, great people. Josh Gibson, all of them.
You crossed paths with so many people.
Yes, sir. Yeah, very grateful.
Who would you say, and granted, you got lots of choices, that was just absolutely fascinating?
Anwar Sadat. I had to play him. There's very little look on him on films for him speaking. So I was invited. He collected black artists, roots. He had a whole private library, which is how I got to play his part by his wife, Jihan. Fascinating man. He was more black than anything because he's a Nubian.
Yes, yes.
And his feelings were very deep.
Oh, I remember vividly.
Yeah.
I was in the 8th grade. Was assassinated.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that.
I remember that moment when he decided to go to Israel and get off the plane and go to Israel. How deep that decision had to be.
Yeah, I remember the movie. I remember watching you in the movie. That was yeah. I was always fascinated by the Sadat because again, my dad watched news all the time, and so you're always watching news, and you're like, who is this black man?
Yeah, he was a great man, great man, great man. The two of them, Ben Gurion and Sadat, and Golda Meir, that whole area is a very historical area that God has seen fit me to participate as Sadat, as Egyptian culture, as opposed to the other culture of Africa. Going there after the 6-Day War with Tony Curtis on that way. Going back for Iron Eagle 1 and 2, another way. So I can go there now. I don't know, but last time I went, I didn't even need a passport. And they're killing one another. So it's something about God's influence on us that we have to take advantage of.
Favorite African nation?
Ghana.
Why?
I don't know. I like this style. That Ghana, Sierra Leone, Ivory Coast, that whole section. If you come to places like in Georgia and Florida and south of North Carolina, you see very people who look like they come from the same family, which means that they got a whole tribe. They all came off the boat and sold in one area, and everybody looks like cousins.
Right.
They're all the same tribe. That has the good answer. And then the one that was not expected is if you have the whole tribe put together, watch out, they're going to come back together and do their old roots and stuff. And that's happening.
100 years from now, as going to be a kid, it's going to be clicking through, and they're going to come past movies. There might be a bookstore coming past this book, and they might go, Louis Gossett Jr. They might be Googling, might be looking it up. And they're going to see this long history. They're going to see these long career. What would you want that kid 100 years from now to know who Louis Gossett Jr. was?
I want them to get it out of the book. And out of the book 100 years from now would be a thumbprint button push. So you can learn about me or Sidney or Harry by going, we need to do that before we get out in the street from our parents and our grandparents. We have to know who one another is. We all have the same basic family rules, I believe. We have to honor and obey and respect. We have to be more like the tribe that forced the man to make us slaves. We had the keys to the kingdom. We had rule over Russia. The first one's really in America. But that's over. We made our mistakes too. We need that respect back. First, we have to give it to ourselves. So that keeps that age, that elder relationship, which is what I'm doing for what it's worth. 100 years from now, it's going to be easier. Go. So that's what I think. I'm not going to be here 100 years, but you never know what God does. It's going to be easier, I think, in the not too distant future for us to talk about Sidney Poitier and Harry Belafonte and Ruby Dee and Paul Robeson. It's not just a personal memory. They helped me a great deal. But the kids behind me and behind the other kids, it's going to be easier. I just want their curiosity to be strong as mine is, to know who they are. People you might not know. You know, there's so many. Roxy Roca, Maya Angelou, Raymond St. Jacques, Charles Gordon, some great ones out there. And these kids don't know who they are.
Last question for you. We began you talking about God waking you up every day. And when you are doing something, when you are, whether it's with your foundation, whether it's when you're speaking, whether it's a podcast, whether it's when you're acting, is it your great-grandmother or is it someone else who is still there, who you want to, I don't want to say impress, but that when you do something, when you work, you're thinking of this person and thanking them for what they put in you. Who is that?
My mother, my great-grandmother, and God. But the elders fed me. Mary McCrosby Jr.'s counterpart was in the First Baptist Church was Madam C.K. Chappelle. They dressed the same. The aunts, the women, the churches, the black church was very powerful. Those women had, the ones got to schools, and they smarter than they were expected. Some of them might have been maids, but they sure picked up the right things and gave it to us. So it's I'll never forget those women, some of those men, those elders, that I had them to thank on a daily basis. Them and God. This is gravy time, man. This is gravy time. This is the longest existing career of anybody, starting in 53. I'm amazed. That's God's work. And me obeying, as my great-grandma would say, hard head makes a soft behind. You know, I'm very grateful. I'm grateful that you offered to talk with me this long. I'm very blessed. Thank you for that.
Well, I've been wanting to do it, and I appreciate that we finally got a chance to do it.
Next time you come to my house, then eat.
Let's do it.
You got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Bring those hungry brothers with you.
Not a problem. Look, I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right.